word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes as well as entering spoiler territory. If you aren't caught up with us, you should be. This week, that means from The Larger World through Demon-Tongued in Empire of Silence, the first book in the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rucchio.
This week is also brought to you by... I'm so sorry. That was so well done. I couldn't. I was going to try to do like a 1960s like ad read on top of it, and I was like, God damn it. Thank you so much again to Beer is the Mind Killer for sponsoring this podcast. We really appreciate all that you do and all that you provide to all of the different fans of so many different fandoms. Recently has released a very great print of Realm of the Elderlings, both in an earlier context and a later context, which I think makes like a nice pairing as you've read the stories and as you might experience them. Josh, you should not look at the later one because it does spoil things past where we both have read, because we both read. Well, you've actually read a little bit further in that series than I have, but I'm maybe holding on to the dream of doing them. I've also only finished the first two, so we're actually at the same point.
We're in the same exact spot.
Cool.
Damn,
sick.
That's crazy.
Anyway, but Beer is the Mind Killer. Check them out over on Etsy. It's within the links of our show notes, everything like that. Use our code MADNESS and you can get 10% off on anything that you get there. Love you so much, Kev, and all that you do. Hey there, this is Kross.
And this is Josh.
And we are Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers like. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club. Josh, we are recording this on the week of Christmas. I did just win trivia at the bar. So I did have 2 drinks before this. So we're coming in a little bit warmer than average, but it's a short episode. We're going to be fine.
Typically, I have like a drink before this while I'm like getting ready or having dinner, or like I'll do a shot before we do an on-air shot, something just to loosen up. Coming in bone dry, baby.
I'm wearing my Trash Panda shirt, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm sober as hell. I just got off work. I did Christmas shopping. So
dude's having a tough evening. Did you have food before this? No food?
Eat it. No,
fully dry.
I had half a cup of clam chowder. So.
Half a cup of clam chowder, man. All right.
And half a fried fish. So.
Those soupy insides just swimming around.
I'm wet, but I'm dry.
I was gonna say moist and dry, but wet and dry, maybe worse. I don't know.
I'm like if you try and sop up some meat juices with stale bread, it's like
that can be delightful, but it's not good for you.
No, not at all. And it's all that's going on in me right now. So I'm gonna try and get a little bit more liquid in me, see if that helps.
That'll be great. Today is our 7th episode, our penultimate episode of this book, which is excellent. Talking about The Empire of Silence by Christopher Rucchio. We're reading again The Larger World through Demon-Tongued. With that said, Josh, quick vibe, quick check-in, quick thoughts.
Another book, this would have been chapter 8.
A lot of other books, this would have been chapter 8. Not gonna lie, this would have been the inciting incident in so many ways.
So it's so sick though, because like I've been enjoying the book thoroughly, very thoroughly.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see an incident, that affects more than just. I think this is the first time something's happened in this book that's not just like not Hadrian exclusive, if that makes sense.
Yeah. To
like
give
this
you...
is like a
go ahead.
This is a big event that's going on right now that matters for a lot of people. It's not just like Hadrian running away from daddy, Hadrian on the streets, Hadrian in the Colosso, Hadrian being mad that his life is so good because he's not technically free, and he has to marry the super hot princess and then become the leader of a pretty chill planet where he could have literally any job he wants. He could probably go see the stars, and he could totally get his friends out of.
He's gonna outlive her and could probably get married 2 or 3 more times in post.
Yeah, totally fine if he was just like a little patient or played the game a little bit. Yeah, like this is the first time that it's not just that, and it's an actual incident that like is kind of. It's weird to say because so much of the story feels like it's been just things happening to Hadrian that like he has no control over. But in so many ways, this is the first thing that happens that's out of Hadrian's control. You know, like every single
Absolutely.
bad thing that's happened to him has like stemmed from a decision he made up to this point. This one's just this happened, and
Mhm.
it's going to affect a lot of people, and it's
Yeah.
like how he reacts to it, which I like.
It's very interesting to me because I think a lot of people like are like, I love character driven books, and this is a character driven book
very
up
much
until this
so.
point. There is no plot outside of what like character what Hadrian as a character has decided to do one way or another.
Exactly.
And so like a lot of people call this book like just outright like we're not quite at the end, and I don't want to like make it overall like claims, you know, given where we're at. But also, I feel like we can maybe summarize some thoughts here, being like, hey, this book doesn't have like a cohesive central plot outside of Hadrian's life kind of sucks. Like,
I mean,
he's having a bad time coming up and growing up as a lordling. You know, that's this book.
Super successful in the sense that it really does read more like a like slightly embellished autobiography
Absolutely.
than it does an actual story. You know, like it feels like I'm reading about like I picked up the story of
Barack
Christopher
Obama,
Lee's life,
yeah,
you
or
know, and I'm like
Christopher Lee.
reading
that's
through
better.
it, and it's like,
Right.
wow, this guy had a crazy interesting life, but there's not like a narrative through line,
Right.
you know. This feels like the moment where we're getting the beginnings of a narrative through line that might carry us through the series. So.
Yeah, which is very interesting to get it so late, and also he defines it as such as a part of the story, where it's like most of the rest of this. Not that I'm saying it didn't matter, but also this is the singular defining moment of my life and the path.
Yes,
it's like, you motherfucker, we are so far into this. What do you mean this is the defining moment? You've said something very close to this beforehand, you asshole. You know, like,
it's very like,
when did we cut to this?
We have all agreed you are not orcs. You know, like it has that vibe to it. I'm like, oh my god, Treebeard, fucking hell, there's a war on
the whole time. It was just you taking your fucking time to pull your fucking roots out of your asshole to drive us to this point. Yeah,
you pull your fucking roots out of your sap hole over here, and then
yeah, those fucking sap holes, man. Oh yeah. I definitely get that. It's interesting. It yields a very interesting result, and that's part of the reason that like I have a fair time, I think, comparing this to Red Rising, the initial book, although I think they have very different but similar problems versus like what they're tackling from here on forward, you know?
I'll say the style that each of them emulates, it does so very successfully, but both in a way where you're like, but what are we going with this, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like if Red Rising's like, hey, we want to do, and I know Pierce kind of got like, I think it was kind of his decision to, but like he kind of got like pressured by society and book sales to be like, let's go a little YA to hook him in the beginning, you know?
Right.
This book doesn't do that. This book's like, I hope
entirely.
I hope you
dissuades.
Like,
that idea.
Yeah, I really hope you like Mary Shelley, you know, and like just throws you in.
Man.
It's like, what
Great
if this whole thing was letters? You know. But I think both of them like really do these focus on the style of the type of story they're writing more than like the narrative of the type of story they're writing for this first book. Yeah, I would say First Law does that too, though. He's like, definitely. I really want to.
Blade itself is a better comparison immediately to this book, but
it's meandering, but not in. I think the Blade itself taught me a lot of patience. Or First Law overall, like, really taught me a lot of first book patience, because like the Blade itself is so meandering and in a vacuum, pointless feeling.
Right.
But like if you get past it and you expanded the whole series, it is still like. It is my favorite series.
It's one of the best books also within the series.
Yeah, and then like you go back and you read it and you're like, this book's incredible. What was I so mad about?
Yeah, right.
But
you just didn't realize. Yeah.
Exactly. You just didn't get it yet.
Yeah.
But
I had that moment rereading this for the second time. But yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's gonna be very much so this book, because I will say, like, for all of those narrative, I wouldn't even call them complaints, but like the narrative oddities to the structure of this story, I haven't been bored once. Well, I've been bored for exactly one section, and that was probably just because I was like, I had a lot going on.
Yeah, and I kind of predicted that within like the spectrum of things and tried to like shovel it into like a small window.
Yeah, I think the only part of the book that started to kind of lose me was the first section of him being in Borisivo Castle.
Yeah,
I think that's the only part of the book that wasn't like not just like pretty good, but like actively very compelling. And even that part was still pretty good, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, this is a long time on the vibes and filler, but we're getting to the end of the book, and I just this is like
it feels
at
like
this
a
point
good
it's a
point
whole
to check
recap.
in.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, I think that this book, it's kind of an interesting sell in the way that like getting someone to read the first law would be.
Right.
Where it's like,
It's the
man, if
same
you can
problem.
lock in,
Yeah.
you'll be rewarded. I assume. I feel like I will be. I already feel rewarded. Like the second we got to Caliga, I feel like a lot of like validation for the journey up to this point. You know?
Right. Yeah. We've been knee deep in Caliga for 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah, and I love it. I'll
Yeah.
spend all the weeks here, but
Yeah.
What if just the next 6 books they don't leave Caliga?
Yeah, they never leave. Actually, I don't know. If
Is
you know
that
this, but
how
they're
the 7th
just
book
exploring.
ends? Like all of this happens, the
I'm
sun
only
explodes, he's
40
writing his story,
in,
and then it's the end of that vision he started having in this section. You know,
at this point, I'm only 40 chapters in, so like anything could happen. But
so maybe he's still in the vision in Caliga.
It
You know,
could
maybe
be.
this is a dream within a dream.
he's trapped there with a bassinet, and he's just rocking it back and forth, being like, "Dear
Yeah.
sweet baby, don't you cry."
He
You're
totally
just a
did
little
fall
seashell
down.
now.
You know how she was like, we thought you fell down one of the shafts and died. He totally fell down a shaft and just like
Bruised his
having
brain.
hallucinations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. He's secretly been unconscious this whole time, as you know, predicted.
Yeah, they have
He's
him
just
in a
been
very safe
hallucinating.
room with crowns, and he thinks he's at the end of his life writing an epic
That's why
story.
he's writing in vermilion. It's so confusing why he's writing in vermilion.
Why
It's
did they give you
because
vermilion? Well, that's the crown
we
color.
ran
they
out of the other
chose.
crayons.
And you know, he just
It's not the
never
whole
left
thing's in
Orsivo.
vermilion. It's just this
He's
part.
still married to Anais. Like his genes still work, you know. So he's just kind of like
Dick's still good. You know.
I mean, you don't even need that.
Yeah,
you
actually,
know?
true.
Yeah, it's a tube
It's a
baby. They just,
formality.
like- yeah, he's like kind of like a mascot lord of Borsivo. You know?
There's so many infinite timelines to consider that this is one of them, actually.
Brain damage is not funny, and it's no joke, and people go through very serious situations, but it's kind of funny.
I definitely understand. All right, with that, I think we can get into the beginning of our chat here, which is begin with the larger world. We return to Elomas's quarters in the countryside after we visited Caliga, of course, and we get a quick catch up and the meal that Elomas went with him, and we get a recap on some of the things that have gone on. Hadrian has helped in a couple of different spots, and we get to look at the sites and customs. Elomas also thanks him for his work at taking down Gilliam and brings up a little story of his own as to like his own like rise, not to palatinehood, but like within the patricianage in its own way.
Yeah, I man, it's he never really views it this way, but like that's gotta kind of suck for Hadrian to like meet Elomas, who has straight up lived almost word for word the life that Hadrian's wanted this whole time. Like the one he keeps
practically.
running away from things to try and get. He's like,
It's
yeah, I
his
was a
dream,
knight, and then I
kind
traveled
of.
the world.
Yeah.
This is who Hadrian wants to be. Like
Right.
at the end of his life, Hadrian wants to be this guy and have gone through all these things, and it's like
And he just drinks wine, has good dinners, and hangs out at
he's
archaeology
probably my
sites.
favorite character up to this point. Like
He's
not
pretty
as in
good.
like the most
Yeah.
compelling character, but the one I would want to hang out with the most. Like
we also get the most screen time with him so far. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
again,
yeah.
that's my like one I think like critical frustration with this book is like there isn't enough screen time with any individual single character outside of Hadrian and Volca, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like that there's that I don't want to say confirmation, but pretty much confirmation that like, yeah, of course the Chantry knows about the quiet.
Right.
There's this kind of like
Toward Ada right there during the dinner is like, yeah.
just jokes.
Yeah, we kind of know that, and we're like, we are the truth keepers, and we're kind of just fucking lying to everybody.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that this is just a nice dinner scene that I don't know what it is about this chapter. But every time I was listening to the last section,
Mhm.
this chapter would start and I would just forget something was playing and I'd be driving just kind of I think it's because it's just such nice dinner vibes.
It's nonchalant, yeah.
But
It's
also
very casual.
now so I've listened to the first half twice on accident and I've listened to the whole thing twice on purpose, and I still struggle to like tell you exactly what they say in this chapter. But not in a bad way. I just feel like I'm at dinner, and like people are having conversations, and I'm half paying attention.
Right. And they're like, yeah. And so I feel this way about the way that the Chantry might think it. And there's like some good like political leverage that like Hadrian uses to get more out of Ada than Ada might be willing to react to. And simultaneously, Volka's like, thank God I can admit to the truth here in the moment. And like, that's the benefit of the conversation, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice to like have this like mixed company where like something one person would say that would be entirely heretical is kind of like you can be a little looser here. There's some good wine. There's nice toasty brown bread.
We're just hanging out, you know.
This
is a Red Lobster.
Right. Karthik is the like squire. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's also maybe implied that Karthik is maybe a son or a relative of Elon
or a grandson or something.
Yeah, right.
But he is the squire.
He's a squire as well. Yes.
I just want to say he's a good kid.
He's a good little
guy.
Got
a good head on his shoulders. He's doing good. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he's doing well. He goes back and forth. He negotiates a lot of like the weird things throughout the conversation. But when he comes back from the kitchen, in between, I think like courses, he brings news. There has been a battle with Cielcin in the system, which is crazy. They're here and now. As Rain Smythe, I believe Captain Rain Smythe, has beat back a wave of the creatures. There's some interesting.
Which that 100% came from like a Star Wars name generator.
You think?
Rain Smythe?
I think
I'm
came from a
pretty
Warhammer generator. This is a Warhammer name.
I for sure played Rain Smythe as one of my smuggler characters in Knights of the Old Republic 1 on PlayStation.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, like,
like I'm pretty positive.
Yeah. to me, like, I definitely get it. Definitely fits. Either way, it's one of those two, you know, like, deals.
Exactly.
So, like, it's never going to be anything else or more.
Yeah, I like that. Just like kind of everybody. There's like a statement in there where it's like, oh, like if the power had just been like knocked out, like it often is, or like if someone was watching a different channel, basically, like we would have just gone on with our dinners and nothing would have happened.
Would have never popped up, but like he came in talking about the wire.
Yeah. Which you know, even still at this point, it's like noted, you know, oh, they're in system, but like, how big is a galaxy, and then how big is a system? They're nowhere near us. It is scary and weird, but like, because it feels so close, but also at the same time, it's so far.
Yeah, it is far enough away. And that's also why, like, I think I personally feel so much vitriol to a couple of lines that are within this, which are so simple within a couple of paragraphs. But it's Volka's nose wrinkled, a frown line forming between those arching brows. I confess I felt a portion of that same scorn welling up within me. Another glorious victory? I knew the sorts of men who wrote these dispatches, the logothetes of the Ministry of Public Enlightenment. They were small men, puffed with contempt for those they considered smaller still. A practiced ear could hear the calculation behind every word like fishhooks in the mind. We have all been those men, but most of us have the decency not to make a career of it. And
that line.
While true, like, man, to some degree, all news is propaganda, but at a certain point, information is truth. And like we're constantly negotiating that line, you know.
But I do feel like in a world ran by an empire,
where Josh Ramsey is commenting.
Yeah, basically in a world ran by an empire controlled by a religious organization that everybody in power knows isn't true, but is completely like designed to, you know, overshadow and control the people. I don't believe the media is anything but a completely sanctioned government propaganda machine.
Right. Entirely. And I'm not disagreeing with that as an idea within the universe, but also to put it in so clear terms in this context.
Yeah.
Man, I can't help but feel like a little bit of common commentary, you know.
I mean, to me, it really stems from the statement that the journalist quote is like, we pushed them back in glorious victory or something like that, you know. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, he's not talking negatively necessarily about like the field of journalism in that direction, where he's like, hang on, like this is clearly meant to prop up the state.
Yeah,
but simultaneously, like there's just like sort of a general, I don't know, like
for sure, for sure.
It leaves me feeling a little gross, but I'm okay with it.
I get that. I didn't read it that way. I took it more as the idea of like it's not the fact that they're reporting that Cielcin are in the system or that there was a battle that makes them that very worm-like creature he describes here, but it's rather like the fact that they take the relevant information that affects a lot of people in their lives, that probably refers back to the loss of a lot of life, and use it simply to spin it in a way to make humanity seem like the glorious.
They synthesize
chosen.
it to the minimum.
Yeah, synthesizing a true, earnest situation that needs to have honest information for the people that it affects, and instead uses it as a propaganda machine. It's it's, to me, I read it very much so, and I felt the same type of disdain from reading it this way as like using a school shooting to convince us why we really need guns. Like, that's how it felt,
For sure. Okay. I agree with you. I just also felt like he was aiming for like Brave New World-ish level commentary and like missed the mark to such a degree because nothing else is commented on the same idea or like the same like concept that just kind of comes out of left field. Like when you're aiming for like allegory like that or like something that's like a deep metaphor, generally you like bring it up in segments and you like think about it longer term. This instead just feels like a fucking jab out of nowhere, Yeah. So that's kind of was like, hang on, this is not the point of the story. This is not the intent of what you're doing. Instead, you're just like when trying to rush to the end of the idea.
So from the other side, it's almost like Christopher Rocchio when he was 12 was like on like a local news station and they made him look like an idiot. Now
and he's just fucking mad about it. I don't believe that that's the case, but like absolutely.
Christopher Rocchio actually was the I like turtles kid, and he's never let it go.
Which is very reasonable if you were that child, but also to stuff it into this incredible science fiction novel is a little short-sighted.
Do we know that he's not the I like turtles kid? Does the timeline line up? I think it might.
I don't know enough about the I like turtles kid to confirm nor deny that fact.
Me neither. I'm purely making things up.
Yeah.
I'll spread a rumor that I know nothing about. Why not?
Reason? Yeah.
So did you know, actually, fun fact, Christopher Rocchio is the I like turtles kid?
I'm going to talk so much about like interesting, like weird Christian metaphysics a little bit into this and like a lot of like deep philosophy that I've studied for most of my life. That I'm so excited that I've disingenuously suggested that Christopher Rocchio is a turtle guy. Is turtle boy. It lends so much credibility to my argument that I'm so excited to have. Yeah,
I just want to talk
Very
about
fun.
I dare not meet in dreams.
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool.
Not like the thickest chapter I've ever quoted on the entirety of the podcast.
I was like, oh, sick! You just copy pasted the chapter. That's so fun.
Fucking typed out so much of it, but also because like I think it just made sense because like how
whenever I saw it, I was like,
any piece of this.
Oh, he must have a bunch of quotes here. I'm like, oh no, he has one quote at the end.
He's got 2 questions, a full fucking 3 paragraphs in a row that we'll talk about.
You stuck your
and then like one more question.
While you were typing this, I think you accidentally pressed paste and it brought over your manifesto.
Unfortunately, Kindle will not let you copy paste, so I had to type all this shit out myself. Which is totally okay and very good, and especially anti-AI, so I'll take it.
Let's go. Anything anti-AI, I'll take it.
Yay. So I dare not meet in dreams. This is a very intense chapter that I love very dearly. I think there's a lot to talk about here, obviously, which is why I mostly pulled quotes as opposed to talking about individual moments. So my hope here, we'll talk about the beginning. We'll talk about some of the things that happened to leading up to Hadrian kind of losing his place. Then we'll have like a vague argument around the text as to what all that shit means. And then we'll walk out on the other side and be just as confused as everyone else involved in this chapter.
Yeah. So. I'll say within this chapter, there's a lot of what I would say. I mean, there's a lot of different prophetic religious writings that are written in this vague way, but it feels very Revelations in some ways, which I think is interesting coming out of the last chapter whenever he specifically says like some old mage from old Earth, I wished I could turn my water into wine.
Calling out Jesus specifically,
and I was like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Oh, he's just one of those old mages, I think, from the stories."
He's like, that fucking guy," and it's like, "Oh,
yeah." He's like, "I don't know if it was."
What do you mean that fucking guy?
Is that Merlin, Vader, or Jesus? I don't know, one of them, but
easily confused for sure.
Same guy.
Anakin's right there, like Anakin's the better choice in so many ways.
But I don't think the Force turns water into wine. It does. That's not balanced.
Maybe could. The midichlorians could shift in any individual atom to be whatever it wants.
I guess if at any point there was more water in the galaxy than wine, then it would have to maintain balance.
Well,
right?
That's not entirely how that works, but it is close. So, are we talking Legends canon, or are we talking regular canon?
I was joking about Lucas's poor writing, where he's like, "Oh, things must be balanced unless I decide not to." Then, yeah.
No, I got that, but it's different depending on the canon.
To suggest the
balance is a little different.
Whenever people are like, "Oh, is that Legends canon or regular canon?" To suggest either is a coherent canon.
Legends actually is a coherent canon.
No,
for the most part.
No, it's not. Legends is as coherent of a canon as taking all of Marvel comics and saying, "Yeah, it all makes sense." There's enough retcons in there to where all of it could possibly kind of make sense.
That's not true until you get into the very late comics. And the very late comics that take the end of the story and run with it are not canon. Like those, I think most people consider mostly sacrilege. The published books, most people are like, that's canon. Like, you consider the books. Yeah,
I know that we need to be talking about Sun Eater, not Star Wars now, but I'll say
I got to take a moment to bat for my people.
Star Wars has the thing where if you read the published books and you consider their canon against themselves, it is coherent. If you take the published books and you consider that canon against the films and the specials and what George Lucas himself had said at the time, it is not coherent.
Well, right, because George Lucas was fucking wrong about so many things, and the authors were like,
George Lucas,
you gotta shut the fuck up.
George Lucas was just an autistic guy who liked model train sets instead of model train sets, but he figured, what if they was spaceships? And he liked cocaine. And he made some good movies, He's
made some really good fucking movies.
We got to start giving autistic kids cocaine, cameras, and $1 million again.
Him and Steven Spielberg,
Yeah, just two autistic kids with cocaine, cameras, and a few $1 million, and a dream, and Harrison Ford, and you can get a lot done.
I'll be very clear. Steven Spielberg did not do cocaine, but
no, but
Lucas
everybody else
did. Yeah.
Are you going to tell me that the film sets were cocaine free? Whether he was doing them or not?
No, but he was absolutely so in on huffing the fumes in the room when it was being developed. Yeah.
I guarantee you he's doing Quaaludes, though. Anyways, they didn't even think those was drugs back then.
That fucking guy, he was just rolling on the ground.
I really do think, though, just getting
full into our deep Hollywood lore here in chapter 2.
Giving a substance to a probably autistic man with white hair and then giving him a few $1 million in Harrison Ford is just it's success.
That's how we did Indiana Jones. We did exactly 2 white men with white hair. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And that's how we got Indiana Jones. And man, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Where's Larry Kasdan when you need him? Give him some Quaaludes.
So Hadrian's walking around some tunnels, see?
Yeah. So the group returns to the site and talks about different chambers that they seem to exist beyond solid walls. There's so much instrumentation. It's introduced by Sir Elamos. There's some interesting conversations there, although there's no sign of entry or creation for these things that seem to be deeper than anyone could reach, which is very interesting. Hadrian's mind wanders back to the Ulukil and Volca's gratitude towards the site still existing at all to begin with, as it relates to Tor Ada and being like, hey, the Normans claimed a lot of this and seemed to seize it, and it's crazy that the Chantry hasn't obliterated this planet, to keep this quiet. Sir Elamos also defends why of the expedition from his perspective and why he continues to invest in it, which is that mysteries are worth solving in a big way. Which is cool. He's a patron, in so many ways.
And then he's like, I don't know, man, the walls moved down here.
Yeah, they shifted. They're a little funky. I don't know why we're doing our best and worst New Jersey, New York shit right now, but we are. I don't
know, man. This just happens when I'm tired. I'm
an
Italian boy whose family is originally from New Jersey, but I never lived there, but it's in the blood.
It seems to be, and it brings out the worst in me, which is Spanish, vaguely.
Oh, no. Don't let this guy near a ship.
I was thinking about the Spanish Inquisition. Anyway.
Oh, I was just thinking of all the things they did all
the
over
Armada.
the earth.
Yeah. Right. It's all bad. It's all bad. Yeah. Mostly Scottish, though, so we're fine.
No, yeah, you guys don't even have ships.
No, we're gingers through and through.
Anyways, yeah, Sir Elon just showing off as being the best of the best again.
Right. Classic.
I like. He's just man. He's like a guy who lived a cool life, who got a bunch of money, and then supports the arts.
Just a power bottom.
Yeah, sure. If he's being topped by scientific discovery and advancement, then yeah, he's power bottoming that shit.
Classic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, probably being topped by Valko. We just don't ever get that completely.
We never see
confirmed.
that. We never. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but he's generating a lot of force. And
they've been around each other for a long time.
A long time. They know what they like.
Right.
Hadrian reflects
on the species, and maybe maybe they're mightier than humans, strutting between the stars. There's so much that's interesting here about his reflection with the quiet, and suddenly he finds himself lost. His glow sphere is slowing to a crawl, and he decides to turn back before he sees a crack in the wall, but finds instead a passage. He throws the glow sphere up into the strange space, and seems to stretch on upwards forever.
Oh.
Into this distant oblivion. Going crazy?
Well, you know.
He finds himself in front of a strange alien mural, and he only catches it for a second before his glow sphere collapses dead. He finds within front of him a 50-foot glyph carved into the wall, but a knot of 3 triangles interlinked with an outer circle. He traces it with his fingers and feels the smallness of humanity in front of it as he contemplates the type of people of whom might even be in front of this sort of thing.
It's 3 triangles interlocked in a circle?
Yes. I almost view it as like not the Triforce, but close.
I was going to say, I think the quiet might just be Nintendo.
Right. It literally just is The Legend of Zelda, and we are watching that unfold in the future. Hadrian is linked.
Hadrian stumbled across like Ocarina of Time and then just had such a trip because they don't really get real video games anymore.
The quiet is Ganondorf confirmed?
Confirmed? No, this is such a cool fucking scene. The reason why I didn't talk about the scene right before it, and then I said, yeah, and then you just kept reading, because I was trying to make a joke, but I lost my spot reading.
Yeah.
But I found it, so I can go ahead and do it again. And he decides to turn back before he sees a crack in the wall, but instead finds a passage, strange hole in the wall. I don't remember where it was again. You rhymed like 3 times in there. His glow sphere slowing to a crawl and decides to turn back before he sees a crack in the wall. It was like it was a real POD flow you did.
Unintentional, but you're so right. Yeah. The pacing there was,
I was like, little Susie, she was only 12. You know?
She deserved that bullet to send her straight to hell.
Oh my god. No. Is that the
no, but there are a couple of those within POD.
I was like, that song is about school shootings.
It literally is. Right.
We are the youth of the nation. Anyways,
love youth of the nation, by the way.
I do think it was a bit.
He swears.
I think that this, like, I don't know, this shifting caverns, mysterious, ancient, possibly religious and or just like spiritually crafted chambers that give prophecies of futures that could be inside of mysterious murals connected possibly to genomes and carried through and then calling to the Cielcin, it seems like. Maybe this is so Halo and it's so fucking sick and I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, oh, dude found Halo. You know?
Dude is not Master Chief, but is better than, like,
if anything, he's the Arbiter.
Yeah, right.
No, it's I love a little bit of, whenever I'm reading fantasy, I like whenever you get like a little bit of science in my fantasy, but whenever I'm reading science fiction, I love when you get a little bit of mysticism in my science fiction.
Yeah, swing us back.
Yeah, it's like chocolate and peanut butter and Catholicism just go great together, you know.
Baby, I picked the series specifically for that mixture.
Yeah, that mixture right there. No, it's three great tastes that taste great together, and I'm having a really like I don't know this whole
A
scene.
guilty, delicious time.
Yeah, so I love whenever you get a little bit of mysticism in stories like this.
Mhm.
I'll say like First Law, you know, no spoilers, but in the second trilogy, there's a lot of kind of like prophecy type things
Yeah,
that come into play, that very vague prophecy that there's like some truth to it, but is it real or is it not? But it is definitely real, but in what way? That's just so sick. In the Wheel of Time, you have for
constantly.
anybody
Yeah.
constantly, but like it definitely reminds me of like Rudain, you know, Rudian,
Right.
Rudian.
Rudian.
I don't know.
Rudian.
I read those books before I knew about audiobooks, so
Right.
I pronounce everything wrong from that series.
Totally fine. Ruidian is the way that I've heard it said. Yeah.
Says the nerd. Yeah, okay, sure.
Says this fucking guy. Yeah. I also physically read them. I've been learning.
Yeah, I did not pronounce Nynaeve right until the show came out, and I was like, oh, that's how you say it. I was like Nynaeve. And I was like, Aguadidin, you know? Like, I don't know. I was making up consonants.
Egwene I got. Yeah.
Egwene, I think I was reading it as.
All right, that's fine.
And then I was like, Renadad. Matrimony.
Yikes. Anyway.
You know, Matrimony Cathon. We're talking about Sun Eater. So, this whole section where he's like finding this like mysterious place and it wasn't there before, now it's there and the walls are shifting is very much so like catnip to me.
Speaking of that catnip, let's break it down here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We'll talk about these in chunks and pieces as I feel like we should necessarily, but to talk about the first bit, Hadrian touches the wall, shockingly finds himself frozen, but his reflection moves, green eyes locking back through the dark obsidian he's staring into his violet ones. And in them, he sees the universe, countless suns all scattered like embers, blown out with one remaining. Hadrian falls, and quoting more directly, "It was toward that one I fell, tumbled through the endless dark to a city that sheltered beneath the shadows of a great black wall, a wall of shame, the greatest of mountains. It was a city whose spires and bell towers recall the castles of my home, though all its buildings were strange. Somewhere, echoing through the streets, I heard the wailing of an infant, and at once I found myself standing beneath the crumbling vaults of some vast and ancient chapel. Before me, beneath the rotunda, where the sky shone through the broken dome, there stood a rocking cradle. Step by cautious step, I drew nearer, advancing as though it were a lion. I approached, sensing that whatever was in the bassinet was a thing of terror and majesty that I dared not look upon, but had to see. I peered inside. The cradle held nothing but air. The dream crumbled, pillars and pews and broken ceiling falling all around me. I feel with it all plunging back through an abyss."
Yeah. Hell yeah. Sign me up for more.
Well, you're going to read the next one. So, yeah, you're signed up for more. First off. Yeah.
Sweet. Hadrian's reflection with the green eyes instead of the violet ones.
Yeah.
Such a cool image to me, moving on its own. So eerie, so creepy. Definitely has me like immediately locking in on like, what does green mean? Like I'm looking for green throughout. Like, I think that there is a piece of this story where Hadrian talks about like the light of that dying sun, that murdered sun, coming back to him through time. So there's kind of this aspect of
perhaps
like
a shadow upon time,
aspects of what I will do or will become. Oh, is that one of the? Is that one
it's
of
the final
books?
Book title? Yeah.
Oh well, I don't got that one. I only have the first three.
It's fair. Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects of this of like the effects of what happened, casting back through time.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I definitely pick up on this idea of like Hadrian's rage being cold, but then like cold being attached to the quiet. So like, and Hadrian somehow definitely being attached or chosen by the quiet, as we can see by him being brought into this chamber. This chamber clearly, like, to me anyways, in this moment, chose him. He didn't stumble upon it. He didn't find it. It presented itself to him. He felt that cold, that stab whenever he touched it. There's something about Hadrian that's connecting through this place to the quiet. Um, and so like I think that cold has a lot of symbolism within that like time cast backwards aspect, whether that's just poetic or literal doesn't really matter. I mean, there's a link there to like what will be, what must be,
What
one might
must
even
be,
say.
perhaps. Yeah, one might say.
But also these green eyes have me guessing now because like I'm in that mind space. I'm like, what does green mean? And I'm looking for green in other spots, and I haven't necessarily seen it. But like the Borisivo Castle people, like their uniforms are green, and I'm like, what does all this shit mean? But also, I know green can often mean like rebirth and secular nature. So like, is
Verdance,
this
yeah.
all things that
Right.
like have happened before? Does green represent like the reemergence of something long gone and long
Natural, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
long natural? Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know, is this the rebirth of a natural order that continues? Because like I said, I can't help but separate pieces of this story from like Mass Effect with the Reapers coming back.
Right.
I don't know where or when this is going to tie in necessarily, where we learn where in the Red Rising history this all falls, but like this
Well, post.
well, Red Rising would have been, yeah, the history. It
Yeah,
would be
actually.
crazy because they totally could get away with like a throwaway line that's like
These
humanity's
universes
tribes
could be the same. Yeah.
Yeah, he could be like, the homunculi are the way they are because humanity once tried to augment all of humanity to fit into a rigid structure, and we
And
found
they
that
became
that
the
just wasn't.
Americanii. Yeah.
They
right.
became the Americanii, and then from there we just had to adapt and realize that only the elite could be. We had to maintain like a natural humanity, otherwise,
But colors didn't make any sense,
Yeah, and they're like,
Yeah.
and they tried to do it by colors, and isn't that just so gauche?
That was only 1,500 years, and we're
and if
like
you think about it, like
20,000 years
whatever
post.
the fuck Quicksilver and
That became the Norman Expanse, like that's
yeah,
just
whatever that is. Well, I think that might like be the start of the Americanii because they're doing the weird shit with like the electronic people. Anyways, they're not electronic people, but they're like becoming gods or whatever.
We catch them. We catch them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of a spoiler, but I think it's so weird that
It's
even
so out
somebody who's
there that
read
like
the book,
I don't feel like
I don't even get it. It's not even really a spoiler.
I don't think so either. We don't need to demarcate that, but yeah. Right.
At some point in one of the books of one of the series that
It
I've
goes
read,
crazy.
people start doing that one Love, Death, and Robots thing where there's like a fridge with an entire civilization in it.
But it's that episode is actually so much better than the concept that Pierce Brown executed. Anyway,
hey, we don't know. There's another book coming. Right?
We've got, oh my God, what the fuck is his name? He played Topher Grace. Topher Grace is in that.
Yeah.
And he's so good.
Words and Whiskey,
Anyway.
where you only need to have read up to where we are in the book we're reading, but also six other series and watch 7 shows.
Sorry.
And I say that knowing it is all me. I am the one doing
this. This is episode
this.
286, so please grow up and read the rest. No, we're trying not to spoil the rest of them. We hope that you get to enjoy them and listening to them in the back catalog. Also, this is such an adjacent and abjectly weird spoiler that like it's not a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler because
not even slightly.
If I understood it, I could spoil it, but I don't.
Yeah. Right. And no one could properly anyway, outside of Pierce Brown himself. So, with that said,
I don't even think Pierce Brown wrote that. I think he woke up one day and it was in the book. He's like, I'll keep it. Like it felt threatening.
Totally fair. Josh,
Anyways,
I want you to read the second quote here that I pulled.
And that's starting at not falling, right?
Yep.
Not falling, flying. I was flying through the limitless dark once more. I saw a ship like a great cathedral flying, its forecastle and terraced hull studded with legions of statues, wrought in the likeness of men and women, of gods and devils and Xenobites, creatures of all description. She stretched across the heavens, her blackness drowning the unfixed stars, and I saw the Cielcin. What's up? Your mouth and stuff?
Nothing. No, it's cool. That was for listeners, watchers,
and
they got a bonus fact.
I was like, oh, you telling me to do something different?
No, you do it. You do it.
And seen, and I saw the Cielcin arrayed against it, their rank and file spread beneath the ship and across the void unto the limits of my sight. How bright their swords, their banners like shreds of blue fire, green,
violet. Yeah.
And the music of their voices was like the roll of savage thunder. Where they passed, the stars fell. The planets went up in smoke as they marched to challenge the black vessel in the air above them, and I beheld one mightier than the rest. Silver were the rings upon its horned crown, and silver the inlay of its black armor. Its eyes were terrible as the worlds burning in its wake, black as the dark itself, and at its side there moved a pale figure, a thing neither Cielcin nor man, veiled in shadow.
What does he feel about that? How's he feel?
All right, I'm going to go crazy predictions. I don't even want these to be like, I mean, these can be bets. It's fine, but
Yeah,
I don't think these are real, but crazy fucking predictions.
I'm going to take one or two as a bet here because I do feel like this is a prophecy in some way, but I'll allow you to alter. We can double down on different things and
All right,
take side bets.
So
choose what you want.
Hadrian will always be Hadrian, but Hadrian will inhabit different bodies throughout the series. That's the crazy prediction I'm going on, because he talks about how maybe he dies and comes back. At some point, Hadrian is going to be a Cielcin. And Hadrian is the Cielcin with the silver crown, and the dark veiled shadow thing that follows him is whatever strange entity has attached itself to him from Caliga that is resurrecting him into different entities in different bodies, which is why he's half mortal, because he can die, but he continues through consciousness.
Spirit. Consciousness. Jesus Christ. What a theory. Hang on.
I really don't think that's where the story's going, but like, wouldn't that be crazy? I feel like you got to shoot something wild out there just in case it's right. You know?
Absolutely. We love that. But also, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's no way. But what if? You know? No. Or maybe the strange entity that follows the Cielcin, that is neither man nor Cielcin, veiled in shadow. That's Hadrian. Maybe Hadrian joins up with the Cielcin in some weird way, because he's not really a fan of humans, it seems. And he is a half-mortal, so he's not really a person, and he's veiled in shadow, and he can't see his own future. He sees himself with green eyes, and then later green and violet are represented as different banners within this war against each other, but he represents both of them as both his shadow and himself. I don't know. I'm as vague and weird as the prophecies. I don't think that the sun he blows up is the Cielcin sun, because he's never said that. He only says that he makes a species go extinct.
Interesting. They would think that.
All right. Those are all of my thoughts from this. I hone the fuck in on prophecies.
I've never seen someone so shattered by like a non-response ever. You're like,
no. I'm not
How
shattered.
dare
Yeah. These are all the things I'm allowed to. These are all the things I'm thinking out loud as they go. Yeah, sure. Ruminating. Yeah. Or he fell down a shaft, and this whole thing is just like a very intense hallucination he's stuck in while he's in a coma.
Absolutely could be. Yeah. Do you think that would be the case?
I think there's a possibility that by the end of this, it loops back in a very strange way using time dilation and portals to where he is actually Jacob from Lost.
Oh, of course. Jacob is the main character
smoke monster
of the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think might
Jacob's
just
not
be
the smoke monster.
Oh, no, Jacob is fighting the smoke monster.
John's the smoke monster. Yeah.
Jacob is Lucifer, the actor from Supernatural.
Correct. Sorry, I had to get there.
But the smoke monster might be Lucifer per the lore.
Right, which is John in the case of
maybe
Lost.
Sometimes
we're spoiling a 23-year-old. Well, mostly.
Words and whiskey, where you only need to be caught up with us through this book and 5 other series and 7 TV shows and all of Lost.
And most of Lost.
I am pretty sure that the smoke monster was just the same entity that it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because again, Damon Lindelof has said many times that Lost is literally based upon the Dark Tower, and you have no idea what that means, but like Cool. We'll talk about it later.
There's like a tower at like an old stone quarry I used to climb whenever I was like a teenager because we had nothing better to do, and it was pretty dark.
So sick, so glad, so good. Josh,
So,
do you have anything
those
else
are-
to say about this?
I feel like
crazy
I've said a
fucking-
lot. Did any of it make any sense?
Well, I mean,
no,
do you believe
but-
all of it?
Yes and no. I believe all of that about as much as I believe any given conspiracy theory. I'm like, it's probably not true, but what if it is? You know?
All right. I'll read our final segment here that we're going to talk about directly, which is then the great ship opened fire, and the crack of its guns shook creation itself. The Cielcin roared in challenge, and their pale king raised its sword as the great ship plunged into the nearest star like a knife descending. Light. I was blinded. In my blindness, I sensed a presence. Shapes moved invisibly, casting no shadows. 1, 2, 3. 1 again. This must be.
Okay, this is why I think that motherfucker's Hadrian, because the Pale King commands the ship forward to crash into the sun that blows up the sun. We know Hadrian kills a sun. We don't know that there's anybody else who kills suns. I feel like Hadrian's going to become a Cielcin, a Cielcin somehow.
Well, that's how they say it. We say
Yeah,
it's
so
Cielcin.
why aren't we saying it? That's like me being like
Disrespect,
Pico de
mostly.
Gallo, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's mostly disrespect. Also,
Yeah.
consonants are different.
hey, you were saying like I say anejo. You were like going the full
Añejo,
route.
yeah.
I was like, okay, if you
I
can say
took Spanish for
añejo,
7 years, so I can't skip out on my like basic
if
training.
you can say añejo, you can say Cielcin.
Añejo. Cielcin is wrong. I've heard Christopher
I
Rocchio
like-
say it so the other way for so long at this point.
I legitimately like the phonetics of Cielcin more.
I do appreciate it, to be clear. I just do think that it is like an intentional difference that he's trying to draw between the way that consonants are created in the mouths of these creatures, right? So like they're
Yeah.
harsher vowels. And we'll get into that when we hear them talk
All right,
properly
fine.
for the first time.
I'll call them Cielcin, and I make sure I refer to every single one of them as she.
If you want
because-
to, no, because they're lesser than you, that's what you're doing.
Exactly, because
You're
that's the way
exerting
you're
power?
referring to them right now.
Right. I'm not. You are. No, anyway. Any other prophecy that you want to levy upon?
I don't know. I can't shake the feeling because I already kind of had this feeling from like that as someone who has done both thing from last section that like Hadrian definitely dies and is resurrected, and I do think I said there's like a possibility, like a piece
Right.
of me in my mind that views it as like a Doctor Who resurrection type of thing,
Sure.
like a regeneration. I can't shake the feeling that I think Hadrian might exist as different people, and that is influenced by one thing outside of just my own knowledge of
Sure.
the books.
Like what?
And it is just the book covers. Every book cover has a very distinctly different person on them.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that every person on the book covers is Hadrian,
Sure.
but it could be.
It could
And those
be.
are those are two different people and a guy in a Myrmidon suit, but like, well, not even a Myrmidon
one of the
suit.
covers
It's like high
that you
matter.
don't have, I think, because you have through Demon in White, right?
Yeah, because we have like a white-haired guy and a red-haired guy, and Hadrian distinctly has like black hair.
Right. The fourth book, I'll say, has a Cielcin on the cover, so very clearly and prominently. So I intentionally withheld getting you the fourth in books onward because of some of the textual imagery.
Yeah, I do want to say I'm not coming at the like.
Yeah.
It's a little tainted
I
by
was
just the
just
view
like-
of the books.
I was
but
just saying, like, part of the reason that I withheld that is because, like, I wanted you to imagine these Cielcin on your own first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that hearing that book has a Cielcin on it doesn't lessen.
No, it doesn't dissuade the Hadrian argument. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you there.
I do feel like it's
I know
very
other
out
things,
there.
but yeah.
I feel like it's very out there, and I'm not like this. Isn't like This is one of those. This is like putting like $100 on 17 at roulette. You're not playing
You're
a
not
smart
sure.
game.
Yeah.
But you're like, bro, if I nail this, that would be insane,
It'd be
right?
fucking sick.
And then
right?
you don't get it, and you're like, damn, why did I do that? But like, this is that longest shot, the craziest theory I have.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
I
That's
feel
all
like
I got.
I need to circle back here and just like give you space. Nothing else on the rest of this prophecy, this vision before we move forward.
It's such a cool vision.
Yeah.
This
It's
is the
pages.
third time that
Yeah.
I feel like there is a kind of Revelations-y biblical reference here with like the crown and the pale king and everything. You know, it feels kind of pale horse beast with the 10-pointed crown.
Yep.
The way how it's written. But you know, like guy who's only read the Bible, I'm getting real Bible vibes from this. So
I got hard Bible vibes. Yeah.
yeah.
No idea on any of those other faiths, but Bible right here.
Bible, oh for sure, dude.
Yeah, fucking got it.
So yeah, I don't know. It's incredibly. It has a heavy spirituality feeling to it. There's a lot of mythology going on here, and I like that it's a little spicy. It's more in the fic than the sigh, or fi than the sigh.
I know what you're going for.
Yeah. I like that this series is bringing in some like fantasy elements to its sci-fi because I like some sci-fi fan, you know?
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, with all that, we then end our chapter returning to Volca finally after all this is said and done between this crack. And she thinks him crazy, almost shouting at him as Hadrian believes himself to have been gone for 20 minutes maximum when it's actually been 6 hours. And beyond that, there's a shouting match that's had, which he appears to be spouting precisely what he has relayed to us. And she views this as absolute crazy talk beyond that and actually kind of gets in a fit with him practically, like slapping him verbally. Is an element of their conversation here, calling Hadrian out at the very end of the chapter as a barbarian for his tone that he's taken and everything else.
Saying that he is a barbarian who still believes in fairy stories.
Yeah.
Such a fucking put down.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this whole chapter feels like your mom catching you tripping on psilocybin, and then you have to go meet like her coworkers afterwards.
Your mom. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like oh my god, you get in trouble and then the high is gone and it's like 8 hours later, but you're still thinking about it, and they're like, anyways, and this is the head of HR, and you're just like, yeah.
Absolutely.
The whole idea of him like meeting all these people in the chapter after we dealt with that, like we don't get an introspective chapter. We just get him being like, hi, new people.
God, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah. No thoughts, just everything else, you know? Like he doesn't ruminate, which is so crazy. Usually we might get like a small short chapter, like a 4-pager, you know? Being
you can tell it really affected him
that?
because he's not being melodramatic at all.
No, right, exactly. Which is maybe a more telling sign of it being more honest,
yeah.
Which is like a tough reality to deal with. We're sat here questioning whether or not like this is the way that it is. Cool. Well, with that said, we can move on unless you have something else to say.
Other than if I didn't follow Hadrian through that situation, I totally get where Valka's coming from. But man, is this one of those like classic every story has them so frustrating that the person that needed to believe it didn't believe it moments. She's looking for like the answer to this mystery for how long, and like
some random fucking guy
like. It's a Rosetta Stone problem, he says, you know, and the stone falls into her lap, and she's like, that's a rock.
Fucking guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like if someone like discovered the Rosetta Stone, they're like, this must be on top of something important, and just like threw it in the shredder.
And they're like, man, your fucking name's Rosetta. Dude, we're going to name it after you forever now, and I'm doing all the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you found it. Okay, fine.
So... yeah, it is frustrating that like the answers to her lifelong work are right there. I don't have my little beer thing.
You know,
so.
I was about to make a joke, but it worked.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Valka Hadrian conversation. I get where she's coming from. She has a very like low view and views so much of the empire as very superstitious, very religiously oriented, very barbarians who still believe in fairy stories. But also, like, the answer to your life's work is right there, and you just
so close.
You just said no.
Just one more step.
Frustrating to read. Yeah.
I think with that we can move on to the Satrap and the Swordmaster, which is a very interesting chapter, a very different chapter, I think, than practically everything we've read in the book so far.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like, especially culturally. The Jodians finally arrive, and this is in the form of Lady Kalima Alarada Udiri di Saif, ambassador to the High Prince Alida.
Say it again, but slower.
Lady Kalima Alarada Udiri de Saif, ambassador to the High Prince. I think she's 7 feet tall.
7 feet tall. Yeah. What's up, mommy?
What's up?
Hey. I gotta go to Judd, man. Every single time one of these motherfuckers pops up, I'm like, hey, Dimitri, how are you? I'm like, ooh, Lady Kalima Ariad, Udri di Saif.
It's a crazy old thing that I just had to say there to say hello, but here I am now.
I'd like to learn more about your centuries-old trained killers. They seem very
Tell me
cool
more about the Myskolos and what they do.
They wear leather like a rapier wears a hilt, or a scabbard.
Yes, and also,
I don't know, something.
You wear masks collectively as a people when you're talking in rooms together? That's interesting. They articulate.
Ooh. I know other parties that involve masks. We could try that.
We could do that for fun.
I don't know.
The culture is so great. Yeah,
they're hot as hell. I want to hang out with them. Yeah.
Yeah, Aloran, of course, introduced here as well. He's disappointed that he doesn't get all the culture that we just talked about, which is tangential, in so many different ways. There's man, I wish that I saw an actual lord, an actual guy wearing one of those masks. But it is still a really cool dose that we get here to start the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say that's
Sir Ilmos is really disappointed, despite the lovely presentation here, that they really just want to see the caves. He wants to hang out, have dinner, get a glass of wine. It's very classic Ilmos as far as we understand him.
Yeah.
They aren't very considerate to that desire. Meanwhile, Ananias is here simultaneously with them, and that leads to very awkward confrontations with Hadrian on the whole over the course of this week, while he is focused on sort of Aloran and he's watching him so closely. He even reflects that one of these Myskolos could engage 100 legionnaires and survive, while he'd also seen one within his lifetime later engage 3 of the Martian guard without the weapon drawn and take them all out.
I have to assume Martian guard is the tippy top,
the Emperor's Martian guard. We know the Emperor is secluded, so we have to assume they're the equivalent of the Red Emperor, dudes in Star Wars.
So
right?
so fucking cool.
Yeah.
There's one moment in this that I laughed a little bit at on every listen through, where Hadrian is what are they called? The Aloran. Aloran is the person.
The Mamluks.
They are the Mamluk.
Mamluk. Yeah, they've got the LED eyes ish kind of a thing.
Are Mamluks the one that are the crazy talented warriors that we were just talking about? Myskolos. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. Myskolos.
Yep.
Hadrian is and I don't have to tell you about Myskoloses. Everybody who's ever heard stories knows about Myskoloses. Anyways, and then proceeds to tell us about Myskoloses for 10 sentences.
By the way, they're so sick.
Yeah, it does a whole paragraph. And I'm like, you just
one
said
time, I just saw one. Okay, 2 times. I saw one
He's I don't have to tell you about that, but let me tell you about that. Yeah. It's okay, Adrian, you can just tell us. It's fine.
We know that you like that female Myskolos that you saw tore through everyone.
I think
she might have been pretty impressive.
The guy Myskolos, too, from my understanding here, definitely got jealous of someone he doesn't even like looking at him. I don't think he was jealous that Ananias was looking at Aloran. I think he was jealous that Ananias was looking at Aloran.
Aloran. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aloran.
He wasn't like, hey, why do you like that guy? He was like, hey, back off my mans. That's how I read it.
Right. Yeah. He's like, hang on. Well, actually, she also read it that way, where it's like, why are you so interested?
Yeah, what? Are you staring? You're staring.
You're staring.
I was just wondering what was going on. I do have to say, in this chapter as a whole, I feel really bad for Ananias.
Man,
she's actually really sweet.
You're so right. She's the princess on the wrong side of the coin in so many different ways.
She's kind of done nothing wrong in a direct sense.
Period.
damn, she's trying.
She's
trying.
approached him very amicably and very reasonably. You know what I mean? Like
crazy that it feels like we're probably just seeing a mirror of the beginnings of the relationship between Alistair and what's his mom's name?
Lady Kephalos. I can't remember her first name.
Yeah. Okay, so Alistair and Lady Kephalos, she had the higher station.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they were paired together. And I feel like we're given the idea that maybe she would have tried to be like romantically entangled with this person until he rejected her and hated her forever. And then they just kind of had like this bitter rivalry where they were stuck together as a married couple politically. Hadrian is becoming Alistair in this moment. He's like literally being the cold Marlowe who like doesn't want a part of this but needs it because of the reasons
because of the reality of his life. Right.
Yeah. And like whereas like one Marlowe maybe like sought out the connection for more power, like Hadrian is pretending to be like this victim, but at the same time, like he's still the one being cold and distant to somebody who's destined to be with him. She also didn't choose him. You know, like she's interested in him, but like she was told, hey, we're going to marry you to this guy because of his genome structure. And she's like legitimately trying to make sure they both have the best situation of it possible. And Hadrian's being so cold and such a little bitch. I
totally agree with you for the record. I think that like Hadrian has entirely missed the point of like what she's strove for this whole time. Like over the course of every week, even knowing that she knew what was going on, you can't help but feel like she was actually trying to build the best situation out of like the worst pie that she was delivered. Also, she didn't have a choice in this. She was choosing to fall in love with him. And it has been like, I think pretty actively like interested in trying, you know.
I think where it's implied that Hadrian is handsome, but also like her dad showed up with some short king off the streets and said he had good genes. You're going to marry him.
Yeah, right. And she was just
like she's a foot taller than this guy. Yeah. And she's like, I'll make the best of it.
He's 6 years older and a foot taller, you know, like ish.
Yeah.
Not quite
6 foot, 6 years older and a foot shorter.
Yeah. Right.
Like, what do you do? And she's like, yeah, I can make that work. I can like, I think a lot of the things that came across almost as like, because I did say on like that first section where we meet Anais that she comes across as almost schemy. She's not schemy. She's like legitimately trying to build a groundwork for a better life
only
for herself
because her dad. You know, in post reflection, we can like give that to her where she's actually not schemy. She's trying to be honest. In some
she's
ways.
not being schemy. Yeah. She's just trying to build a relationship with this guy before everything hits, and like he's not being chill about it, and I don't know. I feel so bad for her. I understand where Hadrian's coming from. Also, like, don't get me wrong.
To be clear,
I wouldn't love being sold to a person either. But if like some super rich gay dad was like, "Hey, you're gonna have to marry my hot daughter and be rich now," I'd be like, "Damn,"
or you die. You know, like
I'd be making the bestest of it. You know, I'd be a very good boy. Yeah. But also, I'm not Hadrian Marlowe. I wasn't born a Palatine. I'm sure if you took Switch and you're like, "Hey, you're gonna marry the Lady Anais," he'd be like, not my worst.
Yeah, right.
Not the worst person I've been sold to. Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't know. This is one of those situations I'm not going to rant on as long as I did about the whole conversation where he found out about all this. Back, Hadrian, like, I feel like I would feel differently if he was like actively trying to come up with a plan to escape or get out of it. But he's resigned himself to the fact that this is the life he's going to have to live, and he's mad about it.
Right.
And he's not making any attempt to like also make it not terrible for her or like find the best in the situation he's found himself in. He's like making it actively worse for everybody.
I feel
and
like
then
that's
also
why the
not trying to get out of it.
Just makes it so much worse. You know what I mean?
So
because
much
like,
worse. Yeah.
Man, when he's like, my body betrayed myself. It's like, no, dude, you are actually like kind of interested in this woman. Like you're not.
Yeah.
You maybe you can't help but be attracted, but simultaneously like you are like that's not
exactly. And then
you're okay with
the kiss tasted like ash. No, it didn't.
You're reflecting on it tasting
you're
like
being
ash.
A bitch right now.
Right.
She is a nice
no
girl.
Kiss
the best
tastes
you
like
could
ash,
do.
You know, like Unless it's like truly with someone of whom is dead.
I don't know.
inside.
You've never kissed my smoker grandma, you know.
No, I did kiss a chronic smoker though, so actually I said that and then I disagreed with myself.
Tastes like ash.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
certainly
But
can.
yikes. That said,
Maybe that's the thing that Adrian's leaving out here. He's like, yeah,
She's like,
Anais was
2 packs
such
a
a
day.
smoker. Yeah. She's out here like, Adrian, just we gotta make the best of it.
The best. My name is Anais.
Anais. Yeah.
It's so deeply Jersey. No, yeah. I man, it strikes me so hard to the same degree. I'm glad that it did for you too, because like I do feel like none of this is Anais' fault. She's forced into the situation to begin with, and Hadrian is reacting poorly to it, not incorrectly, but poorly. And it just yields like a terrible result on the whole. He compares it to Kyra, which I find just like very disingenuous in so many different ways.
Out a little.
Yeah.
Like
this is not the same. Like you're okay, fine, but no.
yeah,
Like
it's
you're a different class of human entirely to begin with. Like
it
also
feels
you're into
like
it. You kissed her back. Like you're fuck off. Man.
It feels like your girlfriend who you live with asking you to do the dishes, and you're like, this is how that one girl I accidentally cornered in an alleyway must have felt. No, it's not. You know?
Yeah,
like,
right. With a gun.
Those are two.
I held the gun to her, and
I
she
didn't
felt like
mean
she
it.
had to
Nothing
goose me.
happened.
Yeah.
You know? Like, okay, sure, dog.
This is maybe the most frustrated in this whole book that I am with Hadrian. Period.
It's hard for me. Like, it's not hard for me to get past. It's just, it's like I can't. Of all of the parts in the book where I can't get on Hadrian's side, this is one of them.
Well,
even if I get where he's coming from, like
exactly, like we get where he's coming from. He doesn't love this. He doesn't want to like lean into Anais and everything else, but like to resent it in such a format, you know, is like just. That's why, at the very least, I appreciate that. Like, he does comment on his body's betrayal, and I'm like, yeah, it's because it's on your body's fucking betrayal. It's your fucking betrayal. It's all of it. Everything's betraying you in the moment. And you're regretting it in post as you think about Volca. That's your fucking bullshit fault.
He's some goth kid who heard "Living on a Prayer" and was like, "Oh, I do like pop rock." But then like he couldn't admit it, and he's like, "I was so mad that the sonic frequencies made my body betray me, but it sounded like ash in my mouth."
Yeah, it was so crazy
like,
that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so crazy that Dave Mustaine left Metallica to form fucking Megadeth, and I was like so hot for early Metallica, but now I just have Megadeth.
Yeah, and then like he hears like Master of Puppets, and he's like, "I do like it."
God, I can't fucking. Actually, he's like,
but he can't admit that to himself. He's got to be mad about it. He's got to be so mad.
Black Album, kind of good, actually.
Oh, it's kind of good though. Oh man, have you heard one? Like it is good.
It's pretty good, man. 7 minutes long. They did something like they did 5 a couple of times before that, but like, oh my God, Hatfield actually was really good.
Oh yeah, oh no, I'm mad. I hate it.
Fucking assholes. What a great comparison, though. Actually, I think
that's wild. I mean, different genres, different eras, but I just think it's funny how much of a classic rock dive we did, and I'm wearing my AC/DC shirt.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm in a Trash Panda shirt, which was a thing that was done for the drunk raccoon that showed up in Virginia. I don't know if you saw that article.
I have seen the drunk raccoon and Trashed Panda merch, actually. So.
Yeah. My mom immediately was like, "I'm donating to the cause of the local recovery group." So cool.
Yeah, I mean, that Trash Panda needs a little raccoon.
He was fucking passed out. He needed a Gatorade. He didn't need a photo. He needed a Gatorade.
He needed some late night Taco Bell for sure.
For sure.
And his recovery program's not cheap, you know. So we got to make sure we buy all the merch to make sure that he gets the help he needs.
I'll tell you, they sold 15,000 of these.
So crazy. He's getting like the spa treatment rehab. That's good to know.
This man should be so fine. But also,
he goes to rehab where the Kardashians go to rehab.
Oh, he was actually right next to John Mulaney. I mean, he was nuzzling up, and John Mulaney's like, "Well, I'm back."
If for whatever freak reason John Mulaney hears this episode, he's going to write a sketch into one of his next weird talk shows where he does rehab, but there's also a raccoon there, and he's mad that the raccoon's getting all the attention.
You're so right. You're so right.
Yeah. Okay. So he's a raccoon. Anyways, I was talking to Bill Hader. Do you guys know Bill Hader?
By the way, my wife had a kid.
Yeah. I'm a father, actually. What are you? And the raccoon's like, everyone's like, oh, wow. He's like, he didn't even say words.
He just started chewing on my chair, and I got mad because it was then off balance for the rest of my sessions for 3 weeks. And then I left, and then I did cocaine again in the bathroom.
John Mulaney being jealous that a raccoon is getting more attention than him in rehab is something I'm going to be writing down for later. I'm going to be so confused by that note.
I've been actively trying, just because I haven't put out one of our shorts in a week or in a while now. And I've been like, man, I got to start taking down notes in the middle of these podcasts just to be like, this is the funny bit. Down. Yeah, like just so I can search and be like, okay, John Mulaney, raccoon. All right, John Mulaney.
Raccoon.
And then I'll find it. Maybe.
What else happens in this chapter? I think I even jumped the gun a little talking about Anais. Okay.
Well, the only other thing that I feel like maybe warrants talking about that we maybe skipped is Lauren giving credence to Hadrian for being the duelist. Like, that's an interesting thing that he found out about.
He's like, oh, yes, you're the duelist.
You're that guy, which is kind of cool from like a master swordsman. Nothing too crazy.
I like that he like wraps his knee, he says. He like hits his leg. Yeah. He's like, damn, you're the guy.
Yeah.
Like, they almost did the cool guy arm clasp. They didn't, but I could feel it. Like, if they were standing in a little bit more adjacent, they might have.
Yeah, for sure.
Or he might have given him like the big like 90s Budweiser commercial, like, and then like give him a high five,
Totally.
But that's the vibe I got from it.
Yeah, it's
two bros broing out.
Absolutely, it feels very bro-y in like a weird way, but from a distance, and also like not culturally unique from like a Lawrence. Like he's setting up. He's like, oh, you're the duelist, and it's not because of his time in the Colosso. It's because of Gilliam Voss and sort of the legacy that's passed on from there, incidentally.
I will say, wanting to move on from this for the sake of time, but also wanting to talk about this for one more thing.
The back half is short, so
this is one of the scenes that really... Okay, so I think that first-person books aren't my favorite, but there's pieces of first-person that work better than third-person limited or third-person that you get really into the characters. You have more opportunity for like sort of prosaic writing, kind of more flowery conversational prose. Yeah. I think that there's more introspection. You get closer to the characters. There's a lot of positives to it. This is one of the negatives. I want Valka's insight to this scene. I want to see Valka watch these fucking Judians and these Imperials bro out over how they both cut the most people with their little pointies and know what she feels about that. But we're never going to get to know it. Like, to watch just two warriors bro out on how good they are at killing people.
That's one of my favorite things about the Tales of the Sun Eater that we'll get into. And it's not to say that we'll get specific characters' perspective in
but you do get more perspectives.
But because you're on the outside, you kind of get like the vibe of a lot of these people in groups in a different way, even if it's just from like an indoctrinated or non-indoctrinated way. It's very interesting. And we're not going to focus. My goal, I should say, is not to like focus read those. I'm just going to hand them to you once we pass a point. We can read the short stories and then maybe we'll do an episode. We don't have to. But
I would
it's
love
more
to.
like,
I like talking.
You can just do whatever you want with those, and then we can talk about them at whatever point outside of the novellas. The novellas are like the hard lines that we're.
Those are episodes. So,
yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, to jump over to another series again. This isn't a spoiler. This is just a format thing. It's why I love the second series of Red Rising so much more than the first series. Is
entirely. Right.
There's so many moments in the first series where you could have had that scene that you get like in Dark Age, where you get to see what Darrow looks like in a battle from an outside perspective.
Right.
Where it's not him in his head. Yeah. He's, oh my God, that's Satan.
Yeah, this is literally devil on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Reaper.
Yeah.
And I think that like in that with first person you lose some of that. So I'm very excited for the novellas and the short stories, but also like in these moments, damn, I want to cut away for a paragraph. Savalka's perspective.
Right.
It's so bad just to watch these two, this barbarian who believes in fairy stories, and this genetically beautiful killer who thinks he's so much better than people because he's 8 feet tall and has a sword, and just like hear her internal monologue between like that whole thing, and then also probably some weird like subdued attraction to both of them. I want to hear that side of this story.
Yeah, Volka's side for sure would be so interesting.
I'm so curious what Volka thinks of Hadrian at all, because Hadrian like conflates all these like romantic moments with her, and I'm like, does she think of you like that
We're gonna talk about that in the next chapter in Lost Time.
Yeah.
But before we get there, it's our time for our cocktails. So
sure is.
Sure
back here with
is
a little drinky drink in hand.
Well, drinky drink in hand. I think we're both doing tequila drinks, so we'll see you then. All
So
right,
that
Josh.
brings us into Lost Time, which if you're a listener and you've heard our previous episodes in the season, you may have noticed that we always
Josh, we haven't talked about our fucking cocktails yet this episode.
Oh my god. Okay. That's what I was going to talk about. You might notice.
Josh and I had almost an entire hour, which is a strange take. It's not a normal thing between moments in the show, but we've had an hour to chat.
I was going to say you might notice that we always start our cocktail hours and we talk about them, which apparently we didn't even do that this time.
No.
We start our cocktail hours and we're like, "Hey, here's our cocktails." Anyways, let's jump back into the book, and we just sound stupider. It's because we always get caught in a conversation for like an hour and check our cocktails.
It's not normally this bad. This time it's particularly bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Particularly bad. Yeah.
Josh finished his whole cocktail while we were chatting.
I made a second one. Let's go.
Right. So Josh, what have you made this evening? Enough to like it twice.
The ingredients are 1.5 ounces Don Julio Añejo. I don't know. Crossland was making me feel bad about how I said it. Añejo. And
Añejo. Yikes.
1 ounce Campari, 1 ounce Cabernet, 1/2 ounce Amaro Nonino. Nonino.
Nonino. Soft. No, it's fine.
And then a little bit of a lemon expression.
Yeah, right.
I'm calling this one because it's a very classic cocktail. It's basically just a spin on a Negroni, and I took my picture of it in front of like a George Jetson inspired art piece that my wife did. I'm naming this one Meet George Cielcin.
Meet George Cielcin. Yeah, love that. Cool. What was your front half, back half beverage?
Oh yeah. So in the
More
front
tequila.
half, I had Don Julio Añejo, because I did not have time to buy beer today. But I only had like one.
Only
2,
one.
Maybe 3.
2, 3.
4 or 5. 6.
1, 2, 3, 1.
Couldn't have been 7.
Yeah.
Might have been 8. Wasn't 9. Probably 10.
Yikes.
11?
11? It's not good.
What did you make?
Similarly, I made something based on your like idea that you had. I was like, "Oh, you're going Negroni style. I love a Negroni." And I made what I'm calling Ananias's Love, which is 2 ounces of the tequila that I had.
Because it
shot.
tastes like ash.
Oh man, it tastes so bad. It's death on the tongue. It's 1/2 ounce of Drambuie, and then 1 ounce of Elizabeth Spencer's aperitif lemon Meyer wine, which is a rare thing. They only sell 100 bottles of a year. It's like a kind of a crazy, weird oddity.
And you used it on this.
Well, I finished the bottle on this because it's
okay.
only good for like a year after you open it, if that even. I'll tell you that ratio, not right. You need way more of the lemon.
I was gonna say, and I know we already
the Drambuie
talked
is
about
way
it.
too powerful.
We already said it. Hey, Kross, how is it?
Aggressively bad.
Mine's not good, but it's fine.
I didn't like it until I doubled the aperitif. Until I doubled the Meyer lemon. It's because the Drambuie, in particular, with the Casamigos, cut through so aggressively that was the only flavor that I was getting. And like with like such a sweet red fortifying wine, I expected so much more out of what I chose, and it just did not play until I doubled the volume.
Yeah. I found accidentally on mine that Campari, Cabernet, and Amaro Nonino, the Amaro and the Campari cancel each other out, and you just taste Cab.
Yeah.
And
that's
Don
like a Spagliato,
Julio,
which is crazy. They didn't do like a gin base or something like that.
And that was kind of like
Yeah.
the idea behind it, but I had exactly one liquor in my house, and that was an añejo. And it was a very smooth one. And if it was like, I feel like an $18 añejo would have actually been better because it would have been like aggressive.
Right.
But right now it just gets lost in this winey sauce. I feel like I'm drinking like a steak sauce.
Ugh, that's not
like
good.
something that should be poured on top of a very high dollar steak.
Negroni is canned,
so it
like
tastes good, but like I wish there was a steak under
too
it.
Sweet. Sure.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So the balance is there. It's just not a cocktail, but. We did bad this time, everybody.
We did.
And then
we
talked for an hour and drank a lot.
Which actually did not make it better and made it better simultaneously. Who knows?
And so here's what's going to happen. We're going to talk about Lost Time, the next chapter. The first quote of which.
No, you can't just quote this out of context, because I was trying to quote it out of context.
The man who hopes for the future delays its arrival, and the man who dreads it summons it to his door. Such a cool quote.
It's
Crossan,
such a
why
good
don't you
quote.
tell me why you wrote that down right there?
By the way, this is one of the top 10 quotes from this book, as people quote it from Goodreads. It's excellent. I think it is inductive of the ideas that this chapter has to say. But it
makes a lot of sense because it has to do with time, and time is dilating within the series and isn't real.
We're going to talk so much about time right now that I don't know what to like truly like dive into in the moment. But I love this
this
quote.
where you're doing your whole science Catholicism shit?
And now I literally have to have a moment in which I get to diatribe about this. And I'm like, oh God, Crossland, you're just a little too sauced up to like do that fully.
Tell me about some shit I don't know. Let's do it.
Buddy, we're about to talk about some Christian metaphysics in a way that I don't think you've ever experienced in your life.
No, because I didn't fuck with that Catholic shit. Let's go.
So I did fuck with that Catholic shit variously over the course of my life, but not because of reasons that one might assume, which is I was a Catholic. I actually rejected...
If I could say a quick aside.
Hang on.
I think Catholic lore and fashion is better. I wish I was Catholic, the whole traumatizing growing up.
Totally fair.
You know, it's fine.
I want to give a little bit of background for listeners here, which is that I did not go through the confirmation process. I rejected it innately because I had done so much research and talked otherwise, including two men of whom I'm going to reference over the course of this conversation that we're very excited about. But I learned a lot about theology and philosophy and so many other elements as a part of my experience of growing up. And I'm very fortunate in this, in which I got to argue at the age of 12 with a PhD philosopher. His realm of study in particular was St. Augustine driven entirely. Like that's what he wrote his thesis on, his PhD on. So it's very exciting for me in the moment and throughout the series in which we get to interrogate Augustine so frequently and so often. That said, I also have to do justice to this man. So, because he's dead now, so I have to give him credence and credit.
Approach St. Augustine with me like a child, because something you should know about Protestant Christianity, we don't have saints. So you would not have
you might
studied
say
him.
that, and also I was mostly raised more Protestant than I ever was Catholic. But
I mean,
also,
we have saints, we just don't call them that. But yeah.
to be clear, while raised Catholic, this was not a part of my Catholic education. This was outside of it. This was within the philosophical wheelhouse of like what he wanted to teach me from the great books and everything else.
Super cool.
But instead he had this very deep Augustinian theology and ideas that he wanted to share. And it was so great and so excellent. Let's talk about him more later. I'm not going to talk about him and his name right now. But to give credence to this idea, I instead like countered with a lot of like Lewis and C.S. Lewis and like ideas. And then I also was talking about like Marcus Aurelius.
I don't say like team sports. Like I don't have a dog in this game, but that's so sick.
Right. But it was so interesting because then it became an argument of like determinism and sort of like the various ideas between like what's predestination, what's determinism, like what's our like free will, right? And so those are like different arguments.
Question: as someone who's not super familiar with Saint Augustine, where does he fall in like the Catholicism versus like Calvinism area?
I love that you asked that question because it's so important.
Specifically Calvinism, because you brought up predestination.
Yes. So Saint Augustine presupposed the question that led to Calvinism on accident as a part of like his theology.
Because Calvinism is wild. I grew up going to Calvary Chapel. So.
Okay, crazy. So to give credence to the idea, at the very least, or like understanding, his thought process was one in which he was trying to evaluate God as an omniscient entity across time, right? And how do we evaluate time as it relates to an omniscient being? Now, instead of like prescribing an answer, he said that like there is no reality in which it cannot be objectively true and objectively false simultaneously. He believed him to be an equally wrong and correct entity over the span of his existence. So that's what leads eventually to Calvinism and eventually to like this like diaspora of the church. Again, the reason that Saint Augustine is a saint is because he is the philosophical center of so much of the church in so many different facets. Not just this, but also like deeper philosophy and everything that spans from like Christian, Catholic, and otherwise ideology is from this one fucking guy for the most part. Like there are ideas that exist and predate, of course, but mostly that's doctrine. There's no like people that were like looking that much deeper than the surface until you hit Augustine. And Augustine
like
is
true
such
philosophers
the guy.
working within the context
he's
of
the Plato of Christianity in such a way. Like he's
that's
that
so
guy.
sick. And that's pretty much the vibe I got from it.
Yeah.
In the sense that like he's probably has a lot of wild wrong things, but kind of almost stumbled on some truth about time.
Absolutely. I want to give two different quotes that I wanted to pull within context here.
Like if you threw Augustine and Einstein in a room, they'd probably accidentally figure something out.
And they would totally agree on a number of things and then disagree on a number of things. And that'd be so fun to listen to.
And then fist fight. Yeah,
man,
for sure.
They wouldn't even fist fight. They'd be so excited. They'd take shots and they would have a great time.
They take shots and then do body shots. They punch. Yeah.
So they are all parts of time, and the past and future are created species of time, which we unconsciously but wrongly transfer to eternal being. For we say that it was or is or will be, but the truth is that is alone is spoken to becoming one with time. And so like this is the idea of like the centrality
so cool.
of the way that like we exist in time. It is this idea as agreed with upon Rocky Osak's, like we must be, right? Like he's taking an Augustinian stance to some degree, you know, but like
it's a much cooler approach than Calvinism.
Augustine argues that like time must be sure, like there is an absolute truth, but also simultaneously is like there is a species of choice within truth. So like this species of time can be absolutist, but it is not by its innate nature, which makes for a fun, interesting conversation with the rest of this.
I feel like, man, and not to get too into theology.
No,
but
I'm about to dive a little bit deeper, but yeah.
I feel like Calvinism saw that much in the way that, like, a young writer would watch Doctor Who, and they'd say,
"Oh, the future is predetermined, easy,
timey wimey, soupy whoopy." And they go, "Oh, that means there's a deep answer within the soup."
Yeah, the soup is like, always correct.
The whole
also,
point is it's timey-wimey.
That's the correct soup, which is not true.
Here's the thing, man. It's all lore. It's all confusing. We don't understand it. time shifts and jangles, and Augustine was like, time exists as one thing collectively always.
Yes.
And then Calvin was like, so there's a right answer.
to give like a little bit of like a deeper historical argument, and this is something that I've drafted up myself, of course, is if we really think about it, there's a careful examination of Augustine's argument clearly shows that it is developed on the Platonic discussion of time. Plato's own metaphysics, of course, are founded upon the distinction between being and becoming, which is really important when you view the cave and when you view everything that's in part 6 of the original like Republic. That is the entirety of the point of that whole argument as like it plays out. Or that which is always will be and is never coming into being, and that which is always coming into being but never is. Plato reconciles these two through his account of time. For him, there is an ever-present instance of the moving image of eternity, which is the idea of the cave once again, throughout the process of change in which the change actually takes place. Consequently, can only be properly attributed to the present time. He says, again, in Timaeus, which is effectively in chapter 7, they are all parts of time, and the past and future are created as species of time, which we unconsciously but wrongly transfer to eternal being. For we say that it was or is, as I had mentioned beforehand. So, finally, this culminates into a final idea as Augustine is reacting to that idea that we were talking about before. If future and past events exist, I want to know where they are. If I have not the strength to discover the answer, at least I know that wherever they are not there as a future or past, but as present in that moment. For if they're also, they are future, they will not yet be there. If they are present, they are not there. Therefore, wherever they are, whatever they are, they do not exist except in the present. And so, as such, his idea is to disentangle this idea of future and past outside of the existence of time entirely. Augustine begins to interrogate the idea of the fourth dimension so much earlier than any other physicist does in the conventional calendar, which is crazy. Like
I also have like a statement to say on this that is a bit of a swerve from the scientific.
Yeah.
I feel like if you approached me with that concept in high school, it would have sounded like gibberish.
Sure.
Maybe there's a piece of me that was able to like hone in on it a little bit.
Saying the words, you're like, oh my God. Yeah.
But like, and this is weird to say, and this is not because of what this podcast is that I'm saying this. This is like a legitimate feeling I had while listening to that. Is that like I have not read much outside of specifically like Protestant Christian philosophy.
Sure.
In the sense of philosophy. But I've read a fuck ton of fantasy.
Yeah.
Or not a fuck ton, but yeah, more than a lot of people, less than some, it's weird that I feel like the prominent aspects that you were describing to me made sense to me through aspects of the books that I have read. Or like not even directly, but like I feel like I was able to comprehend that more because of weird heady shit that I don't agree with, or even like that it was in there in the Cosmere, or like some other stuff from Wheel of Time, or like this and that. Like all of this to say, I legitimately think schools should be teaching modern fantasy or just fantasy in general, because it expands it expands your mind to be able to comprehend concepts that go beyond like
more
our
fantasy
own
short stories. Like
if people can comprehend Tolkien, they can comprehend Augustine. If people can comprehend Augustine, they can comprehend Einstein. Like
I singularly built off of most from Plato's Republic that was taught to me in my AP English class. Like I learned way more off that.
And that's essentially just like cool fiction, but it's also philosophy and science.
30 pages. Yeah, right. Inadvertently, it is science. It's metaphysical. And people don't get that. Man, it's so tough.
I feel like in order to understand like actual hard science, you have to have an understanding of
the way that people thought about science and the way that they approached
the way that
the
people
ideas,
thought about science,
you know.
And I feel like it's in the same way where like if you show a kid Beethoven, it's not going to necessarily matter to a 6-year-old, but you can play like Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters on classical instruments in an orchestra and watch kids freak out.
Yeah.
Because they feel something, because like orchestra presents like a feelable frequency.
Yeah.
That like something else might not. And you might make a kid fall in love with orchestra music and then they'll go back and find Beethoven. You know, like it's just this idea that like I think fantasy like prepped me to understand what you were just saying right there.
Yeah,
maybe not understand to a degree where I'm an expert, but like follow it,
come through the idea, right? And I want to say that I'm saying all this in the context of a quote that I didn't even say, for the record. This is to try to interpret the entire idea that we're swimming through here. And to give it the context of the quote, I mentioned the earlier half, which we both said was great, which from Rocchio himself is: the man who hopes for the future delays his arrival, and the man who dreads it summons it to his door, which is adjacent to a lot of other ideas, very well written. That said, we get to a blending of two quotes right after this. So Augustine once said that if there are such things as the past and the future, they do not exist as such, but are only the present in their own times, which is what I tried to summarize beforehand.
Yeah.
The past, he says, exists only in the memory, and the future only in expectation. Get into that in a moment. Neither is real. The past and the future, our lives and our dreams, are stories. We are all stories in the end, only stories. And it is in the nature of stories that time presents us, and the past are present in time future, and the future presents in the past. Thus, all time is always present in the mind and in the story of the mind, and perhaps in those forces that shaped the mind. The poet, T.S. Eliot, to be clear, wrote that all time is irredeemable, and that might have been is only an abstraction, worlds in quantum space, unrealized, which in turn define events by their exclusion from events. To summarize, what if, what might have been, what must be, is sort of that like collective algorithm.
That was really cool to hear.
It's fucking so tough to pierce, which is why I tried to lead in with the Augustine bit about time and future, because then when you get into T.S. Eliot, of whom I adore, man, impenetrable.
I feel like this isn't losing me, and it's I don't know, and
it's
how
complex.
Cool it is.
It's so over the top. It's wordy.
I just don't know what I can add to that.
Verbose.
That's so sick, and you wrapped it up. You know, like. Talk to me about that. Tell me about that.
Okay, so this is the conversation. Like, a lot of people are like mentally like, what could I have been? What would I be on like an infinite time scale? And this is that argument. Encounter. Your future and present stories are all one thing contained in a singular moment that you have no idea of the potential of. Thus, all time is always present in the mind, in the story of the mind, and perhaps in those forces that shaped the mind, which means that your idea that you had that you could do something is something in and of itself. And therefore, that has already shaped and pre-shaped the future that you could potentially have. Who knows what that could be, which is what he's saying at the end of the sentence. Again, the poet wrote that all time is unredeemable. That's the line. All time is unredeemable, meaning you can't trade it. You can't do anything with it. It is not a ticket that you can punch. It is a thing that has already been punched when you arrive, which is such an interesting counter-argument.
That's Calvinism.
It is Calvinism. It's also a counter-argument to what St. Augustine was saying earlier. Like, that is, these are different and conflating things that he is trying to have an argument around. Like, what does time mean? What does our space in the world and the universe mean? And that is a fascinating argument of this series.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote him drinking on a beach.
Rant. Yeah, Crossland's gonna rant is what I wrote.
Here's the loudest thing is listening to that. Yeah. What I want to do, hearing you say all of that, and I am enjoying hearing you saying all that.
Sure.
Thank you for saying all that. That rocks. It has given me the overwhelming desire to grab a full bottle of something and go sit on the beach.
As a dude with a half a bottle of something in front of him. Cheers.
And you know what our boy Hadrian does in this chapter?
Drinks for the rest of it.
On the beach.
Yeah, on the fucking beach.
I think it might be a lake or it might be a shore. I don't know.
I know it's a
hard to
shore.
say.
It is a shore, but
yeah.
it's it's the perpetual ocean that is most of this planet. So
it's a cliffy shore.
Yeah.
Which does an ocean have a different name if it isn't broken up by continents? You know?
Does it?
I don't know.
I think
scientifically, if anybody out there,
largest. I'm not a geologist. So I've never
I guess a sea is a portion of ocean broken up.
It's also specifically salty. He's a saltwater body broken up.
Which to me is a cowardice move by Christopher Rocchio. Give me something weirder.
Dude, the man has done so many weird things, including this whole section that I just ranted about.
Give me a gelatin sea. It's just Jello.
I do want to give. Okay, so I've talked so much about.
No, I kid. It scientifically makes sense that if there's water on a planet, mostly it'll probably have salt in it. But
yeah, absolutely. I do want to just give Rocchio his own credit because I've mostly ranted about other people's writings, the way that he's reacting to them, thinking about them. But I love this final paragraph that he gives before the line break and we cut to Hadrian. He says, "The future might come only in its own time. But the Scholiasts teach that there are many futures, and it is only the crashing of the waves of time, the possibility against the interminable now that makes the world. It is not the future that is present in the ever-fleeting time, but the futures. Freedom of thought and action matter and are guaranteed because the future is not. There are no prophecies, only probabilities, no fate, only potential. Present time is not what we are, but what we do." And that is such a good analysis on the idea of time from a physics lens, which is we are all kinetic energy that can only be pushed forward in so many ways that can become something in the end, although simultaneously there is something else there.
It's also wild to have that as like as a viewpoint of a character who just witnessed a prophecy that tells him this must be.
And we're fucking, like 600 pages in on the Kindle to this book. And it's like, hey, by the way, I both love this idea of prophecy and also like, I don't believe in it fundamentally, because of these reasons.
I'm sitting here like, I don't know. At this point, I think that the public teachings of the Scholiasts are not what they understand of the universe, and they might be saying, "Hey,
most people in any system that they've ever gotten to school is not what they're listening to right now."
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
You're gonna tell me the American government thinks that we shared?
No one's ever thought about St. Augustine from the American government ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think the American government thinks we shared a nice feast with the Native Americans because we were all happy to be here?
Very similar to a Cielcin feast for sure.
Yeah. All that to say, I think that that's a nice concept that's presented there, but I don't think it, for me, not knowing much about where this series goes, I don't think it necessarily represents the reality of this series.
I don't think it's both intended and not intended to hit as hard as it does. I just can't help but be presented with the opportunity to be like, hey, shut the fuck up. Let's hear this for a moment. Like, hear the man out.
It's so
This
good.
is the clearest point up until this point that Rocchio has made about like listening to old philosophy, listening to old ideas. What does this look like? Up until now.
And I agree. And it's cool. And it's
so dope. And you listened to it twice and you went, that was sick. And you like just kept listening to the next section, which is so dope.
Kind of a
and that's so good. I'm not mad about it, but I do just want to, I have to give credence.
I would say my thought on it is it's
a
spin of Rocchio's own philosophy that doesn't necessarily line up with the reality of the world he's
I
writing.
don't even know that it's his own philosophy. This is something that I actually think that
No, I don't want to say his own philosophy.
he actively
but
disagrees
philosophy
with
he's
from time to time.
inspired by
Yeah.
in it.
Right.
Whereas, like, I will say, like, and this is hard because there's very few things that you can actually look at in this novel because of the style that it's written in.
Of Hadrian. Right.
Inherently, it's going to be from Hadrian's view in the future. Almost everything in here you should view from a place where Hadrian has the answer later, I guess, to a degree. So, like, to say, hey, the futures are infinite, but also I saw a prophecy that told me what was going to happen, it does make me, like, question this kind of, like...
No, but that's the intent. That's the intent
idea.
even of Augustinian ideology is like, hey, man, everything is possible, but one thing is infinitely certain. And how do we determine what is and what isn't? Like, how do we as humans
try
to sort that out? So I don't disagree. Like, I understand your perspective from the perspective of a godly believing person, of whom I will actively say in the podcast I'm not. But to, like, present that ideology, I also have to represent that, and I will for the rest of the show, say that, like, well, if I do believe in some kind of idea of some foreign entity or foreign entities that regulate a lot of the shit, well, what does the future really look like? How can we contemplate all those different things across all those different variables? Like, how do we even consider it? So, even to compare it to, like, the finite ideas of a human thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands of years ago, how could we be okay with that? Anyway, I expected this to be the biggest rant of the podcast, and now we're here, and I think it is. So,
yeah, no, I could keep going on philosophy right now, but
we definitely could. We definitely could. That said,
I feel like I have to move on, but, like, I do want to keep.
Yeah, we can rail into it a little bit more. But
not even arguing philosophy, just
it's
the logic of the world itself,
right?
If that makes sense.
But
not even the logic of the world itself, the philosophy of the world itself.
It's not the
logic.
That
goes beyond logic. Yeah.
It's more like the philosophy of the people trying to understand the world, which is a wholly different thing. Like, even the chantry of whom is I think we can agree over the course of the week is entirely incorrect in their assessment of what's going on. They're trying to control a narrative.
I believe that chantry is incorrect in the way of, I think I've mentioned it before. One of my favorite books I've ever read was a book called On Bullshit. And it's like an academic study on the idea of bullshit, where the central conceit of it is that bullshit doesn't matter if it's truth or lies, because that's not the point.
Right.
It's just what fits my narrative. Does the truth or the lie fit my narrative? It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to say what fits my narrative, and if it's true or not, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
That's what the chantry kind of has going for them. The chantry will use truth or lies to every single extent as long as it fits the narrative they're building. However, I feel like Hadrian specifically engages in philosophy in a melodramatic way, which is very within Hadrian's character.
He does. Yeah,
where
I'm not downplaying that.
Flips between, like, he constantly changes his own
and disagreeing within this own section. Like, he's
just somebody who is academically familiar with a multitude of philosophical approaches, and whatever fits his melodramatic moment he's gonna pull on. It makes it hard, like, because we're viewing it from his point. In one moment he's an Augustine or a Calvinist, and then in the next he might be a Baptist. I don't know.
He's
like,
playing
it's just whatever fits his feeling in the moment.
Right.
So I think it's incredible. It's good. It's great ideas.
He's trying to make us question them simultaneously, to, like,
and he is, but, like, to me, there's this part of Hadrian where, like, I've definitely in one book come to the realization that on bullshit, Hadrian's not gonna bullshit me on facts or situations, but he will bullshit me on philosophies. The philosophy he
Absolutely.
chooses
The central
will always be the
ideology.
philosophy that supports his current mood or what he's writing about, you know.
Current
And it will
mood is
flip-flop
accurate.
here to there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like there's such a cool amount of philosophy in these books, but Hadrian doesn't have a central philosophy. It's whatever philosophy supports his current situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it. I don't know.
Cool.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
No,
he has
no.
a central philosophy. I'll learn later.
From there, we're going to move on into the rest of the chapter.
Possibly makes it into the episode a statement about On Bullshit.
Okay.
That book I read. It is by somebody named Harry G. Frankfurt. He was like a modern philosopher from 1990 to 2012. That's when he was active. I don't know much about him as a person. Maybe he sucks. I don't know. But,
Plenty of philosophers that suck. So
most of them do, I think.
and practically all. Yeah.
I do like this Harry G. Frankfurt's view of free will or theory of free will. Because I do feel like whenever you read On Bullshit, it is a lot of words to basically not say a lot, but that's kind of the point.
Right.
He's kind of a critique on philosophy itself, while also being a critic of a lot of things that philosophy critiques.
Context is important.
Yeah. I love this theory of free will from Harry G. Frankfurt. A person may do something in circumstances that leave them no alternative to doing it. Without these circumstances actually moving him or leading him to do it, however, without them playing any role, indeed, in bringing it about, he or she will do what they do. And I love that.
It's so plain. Yeah, no,
it's so plain. It's like, hey, sometimes stuff will cause you to do stuff. Sometimes stuff doesn't. But if it doesn't, you're just gonna do what you do.
You're just trapped in what you're doing normally. It's actually, so I love that idea because
it's such a non-answer, but that's like the beauty of it.
Yeah, but it is a reframing of like some of the early Plato arguments, which the only reason that like a lot of Plato and Aristotle is considered arguments in quotes is because their entire like texts are framed around the idea that someone is arguing with them to begin with. So
yeah,
as you're reading Plato, you're like, hang on. Okay, but is this the way that it is? Which is some like counter-textual person, which is like William of whatever the fuck.
I also feel like a lot of early philosophy that we base a lot of modern philosophy off of comes from an assumption of a deity.
Entirely.
Regardless of the deity, it comes from an assumption of a singular truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yes, and but Plato doesn't, Aristotle don't. But like
I feel like they still come from an assumption of like
they come
a discovery
from a
of truth.
But like if truth is God in those concepts, we can like extract like God necessarily isn't truth, and that's their ideal like state.
Okay, yeah.
So like yes, but you're totally right. I don't want to dissuade your entire argument. I do just want to say that like there are layers of conversation.
Yeah, definitely
exist.
I personally kind of enjoy, whether I agree with or not, I kind of enjoy like the detraction of that like some modern philosophy has, where it's like, okay, if all philosophical like pillars come from an assumption of truth, what happens if you remove truth from the equation? You know, like, I don't know.
By the way, to that point, that's part of the reason that like Augustine or St. Augustine isn't regarded as like the same degree of like core philosopher as a lot of other people are within the practice. Although if you're even vaguely Christian, he is easily the most respected, despite like any sect that you might be in. So he is just so Christo focused that like it's so hard to like argue outside of that spectrum. Simultaneously, though,
for sure.
I think that he is the most core arguments to some interesting concepts that like we don't talk about otherwise, especially like time and godliness, time and like power and like time and everything. Augustine talks about things that no one else would dare to because he believes fundamentally, just because of his core belief in God. He talks about other things that other people like don't even think about because he has got so much of a base truth that no one else is like willing to like begin to interrogate those levels of ideals for a while in history. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
jumping back in. I do have to say, where are we?
No, we're still within lost time there, buddy.
We're towards the end of lost time, right?
Okay, no, we're actually at the beginning of the chapter.
At the beginning. God damn
it. The rest of these chapters are going to end so smooth. We're
going to go so fast.
Man, you give the man a moment to argue, and one has to, but
it's so enjoyable. Like I would love to just log on and talk to you about philosophy for 8 hours a day, but we both have jobs.
We both have real jobs that we wake up for. So all this, of course, is going on in Hadrian's mind in the moment while he's drawing. When Volca interrupts him, he cracks his charcoal, and we get a sort of heartwarming scene between the two in question marks. It's not heartwarming in so much of a way, but it's like both like kind of like it's weirdly like loving and understanding. But Volca repeatedly says that she doesn't care, and even says that he is better if he kissed her anyway. Like there's some weird shit here. We get into Volca's history. I don't know. How do you feel?
I feel like this is one of those moments where the narrator is causing the scene to be a certain way.
Oh, sure.
I don't think we've seen. Actually, like looking back, and I was thinking about this like on the drive home, listening to it my second time. I don't think Volca has actually shown any romantic interest.
No, I'm so with you. I'm so with you. I don't think that's a Rukin problem. I think that's
no, not a Rukin problem. Yeah. That's a Hadrian problem.
Right.
That's a Rukin success.
Yeah,
honestly.
right. Portraying it as interest.
That's a really, really actually difficult thing to do as a writer, in my opinion, to portray something you know as false from the point of view of your character where they believe it's true. Yeah. It's and in a way that it's believably true. Like it kind of comes down to like not the book specifically, but the movie rather. Of Starship Troopers, where you're like, I'm gonna make something that is clearly supposed to be taken a certain way, and people did not. Yeah. And you're like, hey, fascism is bad. Satire. Here's a movie about here's a satirical comedy about fascism in space.
Like, such a sick action movie.
A sick action movie about showing those bug what's for.
Those foreign enemies are so bad, and it's like, hang on,
exactly.
You missed the point. Like even Robert Heinlein initially was like a little bit xenophobic and like a little bit of a problem, but even he would be like, hang on, you didn't get the idea of like what this was? Yeah, he'd be mad.
Yeah. So it does have that like vibe of, I think Rocchio like did really well in embodying his character here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Valka ever at this point held a romantic notion towards Hadrian. I don't think she's dumb enough to not realize he holds one for her. But
I think it's her. I agree with you for sure. I just want to say that I think that's her like turning the cheek a little bit and being like, maybe there's something here. Maybe you're interesting. Maybe.
I feel like she cares for him as a friend and person and colleague. And I think she knows he does have feelings for her, and she will use those whenever she needs to bring him back from a prank. But like,
I tend to think of this as like the point in which she like goes like, hey, I was upset about Ananias before, and so because I'm upset, I feel the need to like even mention the idea maybe that I like you. So like this is like a breaking point in that way. Not that like it's that big of a deal, but she's like, hey, I got it. I get it. I'm good with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But also,
I think she understands him. She respects him. She likes him.
Right.
But I don't think there is any romantic reciprocation.
I have too many quotes to talk about in this chapter. We can
move on from there. But I just yeah, I don't know. Hadrian is really building up this like, will they, won't they? And I'm like, they won't.
They won't. You are not. Yeah. Volca is not there yet, but also like it's clear that there's something there with Volca, but like not now.
Yeah,
If that.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, rad if they do, but right now, definitely not.
Rad if they do. Right now, if they don't.
You know?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Next quote. Give me your next quote, Daddy.
God damn it. We really get an excellent reflection on the creative craft on the whole, again, from Hadrian's perspective, and the reason that Hadrian sharpens his own tools, pencils, and the like. Sometimes
So cool.
I'll sit and stare at a page forever, but I don't see anything. When that happens, I try to figure out what's gone wrong, why I can't do it. I take time to sharpen the pencil again, even if it doesn't need it. It's good to practice the motions. It focuses the mind, helps it, me, work better.
I have two opinions on this.
Yeah,
they are
hear it.
at a
Listen.
conjuncture. One, as an artist, 100%. I get that. Like, I see where he's coming from. That makes sense to me.
Right.
Two, Hadrian, you melodramatic bitch.
He vocalized, I think, an opinion that I think a lot of artists would hold. It's like, man, there's like a weird duality of like, do I present this or do I show this to people or do I not?
To me,
you know, like,
the problem is that he presents it as his own thought when that's just the artistic process. She's like, why do you sharpen those on your own? He could have been like, oh, it makes sense to get closer to my craft.
I think
which is what most people do. But like, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm so different. And I'm like, no, you're not. That's how everybody that does art thinks.
I totally agree with you. I think very telling is the very end of this, where he like reflects on the idea of like, is this the truth of what I was thinking at the time? Or is this just like and I'm this particular moment, I'm like, all right, you're just trying to be a sweet
I'm talking
asshole.
shit on him, who he is right now, not who he becomes and writes about himself in the past. But no, I actually do like the scene. I say actually do, like I haven't liked all the fucking scenes up to this point. But I like his description of why he does it. There is a part of me, an artistic part of me, that feels like he's describing the most base level artistic process. You know, like, oh, sometimes I look at a paper and I don't see anything, so then I just have to go back to the rudiments to find them. And I'm like, that. Why do you think every drummer ever goes and plays paradiddles before a show? You know, it's just to like warm up and get your mind back into that space. That's not like a crazy concept or idea. You know, like, oh, go back to rudiments. Go back to something like very basic outside of the actual artistic moment that like reminds you of how you got into the art. I think that's just like common artistry.
It really is, but I think in a period in which people might not respect that is actually like a benefit to reiterate upon. So like I don't disagree with this argument. It feels very like in a unique way in where we're at in the present moment. It feels very anti-AI, for instance. It feels like, hey, I'm sharpening my skill in the moment. I am like getting rid of the pencil dust because like I need a second to take a break. This is reiterating the mantra of the idea of me doing art to begin with.
That's funny because in this moment, I feel like I'm approaching it from Valka's perspective very much so, which we already talked about. I wanted more of Valka's perspective. I think I just line up with Valka more.
Crazy. Yeah, me too. Dating a Valka, like, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're dating a Valka.
Yeah. A Valka type at the very least.
Yeah, I think you're actually dating Valka.
Hang on. That's not here nor there. But
yeah, approaching this chapter whenever he said that, like I feel like I couldn't help but hear it from Valka's perspective just because that's a character I inherently like kind of vibe with more. You're so right. It's about like the artistic process. and we can't really know how that like spans across different cultures. But
Time, effort, they're variables.
are we gonna say Valka doesn't know art?
Well, she implies not to understand it. Like she implies not to understand the process of art. And what he's trying to relate is not like art in general, which you might appreciate, but also the art of being a craftsman, which I think is what Hadrian's relating here is like, hey, the next step is like you've gotten so much of this, but also creation is one which I don't enjoy and sometimes I fail at. Sometimes it comes easy. Other times it's me staring at a page blisteringly and like I'm sharpening my fucking like pencil because I like don't have anything the fuck else to do. Like I want to go, I want to write something, I want to do something, I want to draw something, but I can't. And that is to me as relatable as a couple of Stephen King's best points ever about writing and the craft and the difficulty. And I love this quote, which is why I pulled it to begin with.
So I feel like it's really good.
Okay, you've just never dealt with that same problem.
Well, no, I've dealt with writer's block all the fucking time.
It's not writer's block. it's craftsman's problems. Like when you hit writer's block.
I've dealt with writer's block as a drummer.
Sit with your keyboard.
I've dealt with writer's block as a foam crafter for a DM.
Let it be known, I fundamentally believe you. But when I hit writer's block, I pop open a fucking tab in a browser, web browser, and I start typing sentences. Random
so you
fucking
didn't
sentences.
whittle?
No, this is my whittling. I start typing random
Well, he
bullshit.
whittles. But also understand he does have tablets available to him to do that.
But I express in the same way that he might like do that. I express like random bullshit in like a Google tab that will go nowhere forever. So I get it, in that degree.
I mean, that's the entirety of every word I've written for my book. I don't think any of those will
you and I are
be published.
uniquely like mad about this
I just
because
hope
we
that
should
book
be.
comes out.
Yeah, right.
What bugs me about this, in my opinion, is that Hadrian will not use a pencil sharpener.
What
bugs me about it in
what's
that
a pencil
sense,
sharpener in that analogy, though? Like, what's that mean?
Maybe it's something to make it easier. But in my opinion, if personally carving your pencil to break you out of something matters, then why are you doing that whenever you don't need to? Like, I feel like if maybe it's just my own approach to things, but I save things that help me break out of things for that moment.
Right.
And if I do them too much all the time, then they become obsolete. They no longer break me out of writer's block.
Sure.
So like Hadrian is saying that the reason that he carves it is because, well, sometimes I look at the page and I need to get back to like the simplicity of carving my pencil. I'm like, but if you do that every time, how does that help? Because now to me, the idea of that comes down to neural pathways, right?
Sure.
So if
definitely
at your most artistically expressive, you carve your pencil, and then you do that every time, you're going to ruin that neural pathway with just a million more. But if you save it for whenever you're in a writer's block, but at your most artistically expressive, you do that, then maybe that can break you out of it. I don't know. But like, there's fundamentals, but fundamentals are pencil sharpeners. That's not this. Fundamentals are the actual art. And to me, in this moment, Hadrian is being melodramatic. And I don't disagree with it. But this is Hadrian talking about art in a way that isn't actually actively physically artistic. This is Hadrian talking about art in a way that is conceptual art, in a way that elevates art in his own mind, where he's like, the art is tied to this thing. And I'm like, no, dude, like my personal opinion on art is if you can't do art when you're not inspired, you're not an artist.
No, entirely. But that's what I think Hadrian is arguing here. Is sometimes like,
no, he's inspiring. He has to re-inspire himself with this weird concept.
What he says is like in particular, he specifically says that like sometimes inspiration strikes and we can't ignore that, but most of the time it doesn't. That's the argument here. Is that like part of the reason that inspiration doesn't strike is we have to sharpen our tools repeatedly to like make it make sense when it does. Sometimes I'm bored, right? Like, what's the specific quote that I pulled? Hang on. Sometimes I'll sit and stare at a page forever, but I don't see anything. When that happens, I try to figure out what's gone wrong, why I can't do it. I take the time to sharpen that pencil again, even if it doesn't need it. It's good practice. It's good to practice the motions. It focuses the mind, helps me work better. Then he says, in post of that, after the course of like a paragraph, of like working out the idea of like what work could look like under ideal circumstances, he's like, sometimes inspiration strikes and it's easy, but like most of the time it doesn't. And
all right,
the first half,
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand where this is the opposite. Like this is the attack on AI, which I agree with every day for sure.
Yeah,
but to me, it goes completely against my personal belief in art.
Sure,
which is that done is better than perfect.
Of course, I don't think he's
where this is coming from is he's like, I'm looking at a paper and I'm not getting it, so I have to go back to the fundamentals until I can make a piece of art. And I'm like, no, draw is what you should do. If you want to draw, you should draw. And if he's like, I don't see the paper, I can't see it, I have to go back to the fundamentals. I'm like,
sometimes...
no, draw, because you're not building pathways by going back to the fundamentals. You press forward, you draw, you keep going, you try something new.
Sometimes
I would rather you make bad art than good art the same way again. You know, I don't know that. I know for me, my artistic process does not work that way.
Sure. I agree with you and understand exactly where you're coming from. My difference is that I understand this more immediately, where it's like, hang on, I know that what I can be doing is better than what I'm writing in the moment. And so what I'll do instead is I'll be like, hey, let's create a sub project. Let's create like a little notes app. And like, let's just write out the feelings that we're thinking right now, like the thoughts or whatever the hell it is, or like whatever scene. And it might not be up to the standard or snuff of the initial thing, but then it can feed back into something else. So that's where I relate to Hadrian in the immediate moment, being like, hey, I'm not doing perfect art, but I am moving those muscles. I'm in the right direction. It's not perfect. Yeah. That's why I love the idea that like he's like in a more melodramatic moment. I could have shown the painting of Valka. It's not perfect. I'll never show that. I shouldn't. And that's why I think it's such a great example of like that wouldn't be good art and shouldn't be good art. And we should actually actively acknowledge it as Hadrian acknowledging it as shitty art. Like, this is not good, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think for me personally, I can only view this art in the aspects of the art that I have done.
Totally.
On a level. And my biggest frustration in music, which is the art that I have done on this level, is people who take that approach. You cannot do a collaborative music thing if nobody can ever present you with anything, because they're still sharpening their goddamn pencil. Hey, give me the fucking picture. Yeah. Let's fix it together.
Let it be known. I think that the only way that you can validly evaluate this entire idea is if it's individual art. This is solo art. There's no way that group art works this way. Writing eventually.
Hear me out. Hear me the fuck out.
Hang on.
There is no art that is individual art.
Woo!
Art doesn't exist without being perceived, and therefore there is no art that is individual art.
Hang on. That's not what I was aiming for. You know that, but I appreciate your intention here.
So if the art is the portrait of Valka, the portrait of Valka does not matter
without Valka, right?
Without Valka as a person,
Valka,
as a presence or a viewer. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're getting back to the Christian metaphysics of Augustine, actually. So in
Augustine
the long
can
run,
fuck off.
No.
Art only matters when it's perceived.
Augustine evaluated art as the idea of like perception, because life is perception, art is perception, and therefore the idea.
Well, I like this guy then.
Oh, he's so clever. This is the fucking problem with Augustine, is he applies to everything accidentally, and like a lot of people skip over him because it's like, oh, he's Christian. It's like, okay, sure, but like also he like took the next step from Plato and Aristotle, and we all ignore it. And that's
so I would be very interested to find out from you or our audience if this is an actual philosophical thing that's been said. But I remember saying very specifically in my band whenever I was 19 years old.
Sure.
Because they were like, all that matters is we make music we like, which is important. And I was like, well, we should make music we like that also people like to hear.
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
And the big argument came down to, and I stand by this, they were arguing that if only we ever hear it and like it, it's still valid. And at this age, I've actually come around more to thinking that's true.
Not good. Those are different things.
And because I view it in like, if I put in a D&D campaign situation, a D&D campaign that's only me and my friends and we ever enjoyed it is great. God, what was it? I said, art that is only created for its creator is selfish. And I hold by that. Man, like, you want to so get a little
Da Vinci in the middle of our fucking argument here now?
Yeah. If you're making art for you, you're being fucking selfish.
Little Michelangelo. Yeah, I don't.
Anyways, this is a really deep dive to Hadrian sharpening his pencils. He has his own order for art. I think that Hadrian inherently, as we've seen him up to this point, at every point in the story, is still a self-absorbed person.
Of course he is. Absolutely. And I think
the way how he views art is in that aspect.
Absolutely.
He has to go back to the way how he finds inspiration, because he can't possibly find inspiration from something that's uncomfortable and outside of himself.
He has to pull something from this moment to make himself feel valid later in so many different ways. I do just want to give maybe the credit is not due on Hadrian, it's due on Rocchio, because I do think that this is such a good moment from Rocchio, from the writer's perspective, being like, hey, this is the way the craftsman goes throughout work. Like, not every day is good. We struggle. I don't know if, I assume you feel the same way.
Oh, 100%. It's true.
Like, you stare at it for so long and you're like, by fucking God, like, I've stared for 2 hours and like I have came up with 250 words at best. Like, who am I?
I think this is one of those things. And I don't know Rocchio's hobbies outside of writing, right?
It's mostly
I'm not gonna stand to imagine something. I don't know your hobbies outside of writing, but as someone whose every artistic expression, all of my major artistic expressions are collaborative. That one rubbed me wrong, because I'm like, no, you push forward, you let people know.
Right. Well, right. Collaborative.
It's the idea of, if you're in choir or band or theater or anything else, you should make mistakes loudly, is the whole point of how you make art. Yeah. And this whole, like, I'm going to sharpen with a scalpel. No. Write with a dull pencil, make mistakes loudly, you know.
No, like, that's right. I don't disagree with that, but he's sharpening with the razor is more meant to be like, people have skipped out on the process of learning how to be good at a thing, right? Like, they've missed that idea of perfection and like striving for like excellence in tools and craft, which is where I get back to like which I think
brings me to my like ick on it, is that I think that we've lost a lot in people thinking they need to release things that are perfect.
No, I don't think that's what he's saying here either.
I think people need to release raw shit, bad shit.
To be
like,
clear.
At the end of the day, I legitimately think that like Cole, the 1980s like fantasy movie that is a B-grade version of Conan the Barbarian, is better than some of the fantasy we have A-grade today, because it was just someone who released some shit, you know.
Absolutely. Like, I want to be I
want more people to just do shit and don't sharpen your pencil. Give me a blunt fucking story.
I want to be a friend and a fan in the same moment. Let's talk about this in context in a way. Okay, so for listeners, Josh is a big part of a band called Social Cues. Social Cues in 2024 put out a song every month. I feel like before this, I was a pretty big advocate for
recorded, mixed, mastered.
Yeah, within every month. And I was like, this would be a sick thing to do. And you had already been talking about it beforehand, but I was like, I advocated for it on my own right. And I was just like, hey,
10 of those songs were good. Yeah.
I think all of them were good. I
10
enjoyed
of
all
those
them.
songs were good.
Cool. Sick. That's fine. But that said, those are all, in my opinion, sharpening the pencil moments. Those are all moments in which you are taking the lead out and you're
That's
like
super
showing
fair.
the way that you do
concept
the
of
thing,
sharpening
right?
the pencil.
So, what a fucking terrible moment for the podcast platform to die.
So
To say all of that about everything that you've done musically and everything else, I feel like that's the pencil sharpening moment, right? Like that is like you proving out the idea. And sometimes they work. Like you said, like 10 are great, 2 you thought failed.
Which,
like
okay,
in context.
so
but like
what I'll
that's
say in
pencil
it-
sharpening, man. That's like fucking that's the nature of the craft.
what
And
I'll
people
say in it
ignore
is
the nature
that
of craft, and that's why I love this part.
what I'll say in that is that this is where this style of writing, this conceit,
Yeah.
fails me a little bit,
Sure.
because inherently I have to read that literally, not
Sure.
conceptually. So he's saying I have to stop and sharpen my pencil to make sure that
But he's saying that to Valka. He's explaining
the image I make is worth making. Every single one of those songs wasn't worth making. We just had to do it, you know. Like,
yeah, sure, but like that's also the nature of
and
art.
I think that
like,
that's. I think
choose.
we were using pencil sharpeners.
Yeah.
Like we were like, hey, I don't know what to do. Brandon has one riff, and we're just gonna run that through like a fucking preamp, and then see what happens, and then maybe we'll be inspired.
But did that not make you a better producer in the long run? Did that
It made
not
me a better
make you, like,
producer in the
thought-
wrong run. But in my opinion, pencil sharpening is saying, hey, what song are we going to write? And we all go back to rudiments. And Brandon's like playing like scales. And I'm doing like, you know, like,
Sure.
and that's not what we're doing. We're going, hey, I don't necessarily know what we're going to do, but we're going to start throwing shit on paper. And that's the difference, where he's
Maybe-
sharpening his pencil. I'm putting ink on paper, you know, and it's a different approach to art, but Hadrian's pencil sharpening thing actually did frustrate me as an artist personally.
That's so interesting. It felt so enabling to me by comparison. This felt so
well,
like,
because you're
enlightening.
mostly a solo artist, right? Like the art you do is
Yeah.
mostly you.
Right. Which is what I was trying to say here is that like as a single person, like this is so like, oh my God. Like it's so like I'm not collaborating with people until it's much later in the process for the most part, which is why I was like I was trying to draw the comparison with your experience in the 12 months.
Of course.
Because like you mostly, my personal experience on understanding the process, you mostly drove a lot of that, but yeah.
Very true.
Just-
But I will say what I've experienced as a collaborative artist has
Sure.
actually like gone into my own writing, and you will read some writing from Crossland. We'll see if you ever read some from me. So take that with a grain of goddamn salt. But like, the idea behind it is like the biggest thing I've learned from art, working collaboratively for the last decade and a half, 2 decades.
Yeah.
Is that you just got to throw shit at the wall. And if you're like, I'm not inspired today, you don't
have
necessarily
to.
step back
Right.
and do that. You just like, you just fucking roll with it. You throw some bad shit at the wall. It's okay if it's bad. It's better to throw something that's bad at the wall, because then maybe it inspires somebody else to do something good, than it is to wait for something good to come from your mind.
Right.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
And that's my approach to art, because I've only ever really approached art collaboratively.
That's crazy, because the back
so
half
it's
of what you
the
said is the same
opposite.
as how I think about it, which is like throw shit at the wall, but it's the angle on like who and where are you throwing shit at the wall, like
Yeah.
and who might be caught in the spray. You
It's
know,
like you're throwing shit at the wall hoping you'll figure it out later. I'm throwing shit at the wall hoping somebody else will catch it and turn it into a diamond. You know?
well,
Like,
but okay, hang on. Let's give you a little bit more credit than that, which is where I came at from this, from my perspective of talking about it, which is like you're the guy who catches the shit, tries to turn it into platinum, you know, to some degree. Like you're not the diamond guy, but you are like you're a conversion factor on a lot of things. That's your bag.
yeah,
That's what you do.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the kiln, if you will.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to
All
give you
right,
a
we
little
should
bit
move
more
on.
credit. All right, fine. So
that was a lot of conversation about artistic
but art
process.
and craft. We talked about this before. We have to give it its credence within the sun.
Yeah, of course.
So they continue this conversation. It's excellent between the two of them. That said, there's a really excellent conversation here that happens between Volka and Hadrian, of course, that I think characterizes him so well. They exchange this phrase. You're not, though. You wear your imperial mantle like it chafes you. And from him, he says, are you always this dramatic? I am. Ask anyone who knows me. And such a good exchange of both the imperial mantle and then also just fucking the place in the world.
Are you always this dramatic? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's my fucking
me.
ass. Yeah.
Which is such just an established thing at this point.
Right.
I love it. What is the type of melodrama he always says he is from?
Eudoran.
Yeah. Hadrian's just a Eudoran melodrama.
From a fucking Eudoran melodrama, buddy. Yeah.
Oh my God, Gibson is from Jersey, right?
Well,
it's like you're doing the fucking
Jersey by way
Eudoran
of
melodrama.
300 years, but sure. Yeah.
As
Eudoran melodrama is absolutely
someone who has never learned it.
He's got a little bit of something in him.
Someone who has never lived in Jersey.
One might argue it's a little
his
bit
blood
of
is from Jersey.
voice.
I feel like it comes out in you when it needs to.
It's a little bit of you're just stuck in a Eudoran melodrama, my boy, right?
I feel like people
You're
from
just,
Jersey probably listen to this podcast and are like, why are they saying this? That
Yeah.
sounds nothing like me.
By that you mean Jersey proper in the UK, and we have a number of UK listeners who will be
They're like,
very mad.
Why do they think I'll sound like that?
What? Why would they ever presume that I would talk in some
I
smoker
assume
raspy
that they're
ass
showing
voice?
up.
Yeah.
And he's like, oi, why you sound like that, yeah?
Why do you sound
Hey,
like
bruv.
that? Oi.
You trying to get cut, bruv?
Not a gun.
Run me your trainers, bruv. That might ruin some things. Let's keep going.
Rahul Kohli, I hope you're listening to this, and I hope you love this shit post.
Hey,
please.
Rahul Kohli, I actually met you once at the Game Awards, the one that Baldur's Gate won all of them. We met at a restaurant outside. I said you were super cool. A lot of people were waiting for your picture. I did not take a picture. I was just like, hey, man.
High five.
Sorry, got to deal with that. You're so sick. And you seemed like you enjoyed that interaction. So,
That's me and everyone that I know for the most part, so I agree. I love that idea. Fuck photos. Just know people,
Yeah, I saw him and I was like, hey, you're all Cooley. You're so good. I loved you and Follow the House of Usher because it had just come out.
Fucking his role in Midnight Mass. Anyway, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But
Midnight Mass is his best role. Follow the House of Usher is really great. He was stretching his legs with a different type of character.
Yeah.
I feel like
that idea.
he fell into the role of Midnight Mass character better.
Yes. Yeah.
His performance was perfect in Follow the House of Usher.
I
just
say both, to be
believed
honest.
him more. And there's something about
I love him playing
Midnight
the rich
Mass
playboy, though, in Follow the House.
He nails it.
Yeah.
He nails it in a way where I go, that's probably not who this person actually is.
Also, that's actually what rich playboys are like. He felt like an off kilter.
He nailed
I should
it.
be more and I should be less. Which is
I feel like he played the rich playboy in a way where it's like he has known rich playboys and nailed it. Whereas the other character, I feel like he's like, I'm going to play an earnest person who's selfless. And I felt more earnest, like that might actually be more who he is.
Totally. Josh, I don't mean
we should talk about this book.
We've got 2 more chapters to go.
Yeah, you're so right.
And we're having such a good time, but also, well, I hope you're enjoying this at home because some of us are doing fine. I
assume
Josh,
some of this is in the book.
Read the quote here that I pulled.
How does it start?
Memory.
All right. Yeah. I will do that.
All right. It's a thick end.
So we've talked about what we've talked about up to this point, and editing,
which is so many things
at all.
Yeah. Right.
But now we come to this quote. Memory is not history, nor are our stories the past. We remember not what was, but what mattered, what was important to us. Events which, in truth, were separated by days or even months tend, in recollection, to occur one after the next. The truth? The truth is that I cannot say with confidence that we shared that bottle on our last night at Caliga, or if it was some other conversation which preceded what was to come. It does not matter. In memory, we rose from the shore and began the long walk back to the cleft, angling for the camp and the bed. We had not made it far when the sky turned to flame and thunder.
As that Cielcin ship comes crashing through the sky,
Ooh,
and everything starts raining down hell upon our scenes.
I feel like there's like an inherent assumed alternate side of this from the Cielcin where they're not like invading, they're
like,
crashing.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm so curious why the Cielcin are here. I assume they're here for Caliga, based on what we learned, but damn.
Damn indeed. So with that, we can move on to the help rather.
Yep.
Shuttles arrive bringing help in the form of Varel.
Help and the help are wildly different.
Yeah, right.
So.
Wildly different books. And as I said it out loud, I was like, oh, we're too late. We're too far gone. Thank you, Josh, for calling me out. We appreciate that.
Anyway, so just so everybody knows, Crossland said the help.
The help. But the help are here in the form of Varel and most of the Imperial Legion, of whom can't share the details of what's going on the outside and the fact that they need to get them out of here at the demands of Rain Smythe. She admits, though, Varel, to knowing that it's the Pale, and Hadrian asks to attend at the side of the Jadians, of course, of whom we've gotten to know over the course of the chapters, given that Hadrian himself can speak the Cielcin language and maybe can broke their first ever surrender.
Okay, I don't have a ton to say about this chapter, but what I will say is this is one of those moments where Hadrian does some cool stuff with what he has. The other thing I'll say is I love the introduction of, and I don't know if she's written down anywhere in here.
Are you talking about Jinan?
A character that he specifically says will be important. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting just like sitting at the side of the beach waiting for people to tell you the world is ending.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, hang on, I saw a meteor hit the planet, and now you're telling me. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what I have to say about this chapter other than it's a very well done transitionary chapter to get us into the story.
I'll give you one. Do you want to say something about the chapter? Read the quote that I pulled, which I think is an excellent one from Hadrian's perspective. Then we'll have something to fucking say, buddy, about the chapter.
All right, choose your accent.
No, you choose your accent.
You choose your accent. Choose my accent.
Hadrian Marlowe. I am Hadrian Marlowe.
Hadrian Marlowe,
Lord of the House of Delos.
Okay, so we're doing it.
No, fuck off. We're not doing a Minnesotan accent. I tried to do otherwise, folks.
What accent did you want? It sounded like John Malkovich to me. Yeah, I could read it like John Malkovich.
No. Oh, God.
Even now, after all of the centuries, all of the bloodshed, after all of the sun and the death of a species, after all of the evil done by me and in John my Malkovich. Name. It's not even John Malkovich. It's just a
Midwestern fucking
Midwestern. That's what I'm looking for.
But I'm a Midwestern northern asshole. That's not even my accent.
Loop back around.
All right.
I'm gonna just read it.
Yeah.
Even now, after all the centuries, all the bloodshed, after the death of a son and the death of a species, after all the good and evil done by me and in my name, and in the name of mankind, it is that instant that rings true. If you seek a moment, the moment on which to hang my life, it is there, upon that stony shore at the margin of the world, on a night when fire rained and fell from heaven, I found a purpose. I was Hadrian Marlowe at last. I was like a man possessed, and I stood fidgeting with the wheel of cryoburn scar on my left thumb. I had lost my ring, thrown it away in Bursivo.
All right. Once more, with feeling. Even now, after all the centuries, all the bloodshed, after the death of a son and the death of a species, after all the good and evil done by me and in my name and in the name of mankind, it is that instant that rings true. If you seek a moment, the moment on which to hang my life, it is there, upon that stony shore at the margin of the world, on a night when the fire rained and fell from the heaven. I found a purpose. I was Hadrian Marlowe at last. I was a man possessed, and I stood fidgeting with a wheel of cryoburn scar on my left thumb. I'd lost my ring, thrown it away in Borisivo.
Yeah,
Sorry, Drunk Me
better.
was like, I couldn't help it. Yeah,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I got to read this now.
I also read it so many times today, rewriting it to make sure that I got it right. So
I was like, all right, let's see if if my eyes can stay focused on this many words.
Josh is like, oh my God, Crossland is making me read so much shit this week. No, I love this. I love this as this singular moment that like he calls out, like, this is when I am who I am, you know?
Yeah.
This is when I become a Hadrian Marlowe. This is when I am the half mortal. This is everything that I am from here forward. Again, we talked earlier about like pivoting moments in the story. This would generally happen for a lot of characters on chapter 5. But we're here.
Exactly. Yeah, this is very much
70,
defining moment.
70, 69, I think, actually, literally.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you look at this in the like word count of a lot of series, this is happening in book 3.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, right.
If this was a romantasy, this is the 3rd book.
If this is if this is the Mistborn trilogy, this is at the end of the 2nd book. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
The beginning of the 3rd, end of the 2nd.
Right.
Now, this isn't where Hadrian starts to take.
No,
control,
this is
right?
not where
That's
like
in the next
the
one.
conversation begins to happen and everything else that happens with the monsters.
Specifically, I know there's like a moment where Hadrian's like, "Hey, we need people to do this and that," and I think it's like a cool moment. But I think that's the next chapter.
It is in Of Monsters, and there's a little bit of that in Demon Tongued, which I think at this point we've agreed not to talk about. We're just going to do Of Monsters.
Yeah, Demon Tongue. We're
for
just
this
gonna get
evening.
in there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a holiday evening, and we're just going to get in with our Demon Tongues, or Of Monster Tongues, actually, not the Demon Tongues. That's what it sounded like you wanted to take off into the thing. We can talk about Of Monsters, of course. We find ourselves in the remnants of the Cielcin shipwreck with Basander Lin, this like lowly lieutenant captain, Lauren and Jinan Azar, Lauren's second in command, as well as some Mamluks. We got to kind of know a little bit or see a little bit of the Mamluks beforehand. They're kind of an interesting sort of homunculi in a weird way. I don't know how else to quantify them. Do you have other
Super
thoughts?
weird and unsettling for sure.
Right. They're off base without a doubt. But there are a couple of other comments that happen within here, which is wars aren't won with soldiers, as Hadrian remarks, sir. Not unless you're willing to kill every single enemy in the galaxy. Wars are fought with soldiers, but they're won with words.
But
I would rue that pronouncement, the naivety of it, and as I write it here, my heart blackens with the irony and the bitter knowledge that I was wrong. And that's such an
insane
dichotomy.
Run of words.
Oh my God, man. It's like I was like, so confident as a kid.
I had this noble ideal. I was so wrong.
It's like in so many other words, in so many other series, it's like, what if Darrow saw the end of his journey and he was like, Nah, that shit. I was being an asshole bullshitter. Like I.
Oh my
fucked
god,
up.
I would love to see Darrow write his story in
From
retrospect.
the end. Yeah, right. It'd be so different. In so many different ways.
That's what this is. You know?
Kind of. Yeah. And like, what does that yield as a different result? So I love this idea of like,
it
oh man,
yields
I
me
thought
thinking
that.
he never. I think he came to understand a lot of different cultures, a lot of different languages, a lot of war, a lot of humanity, a lot of existence, a lot of the universe. I just don't think he ever came to understand women. That's my honest thought on Hadrian,
Kross!
half tongue, half more, or demon tongue, half mortal.
Oh no! That's why he could only ever understand half.
He only had a half tongue, so it never really worked out.
Oh no!
For him. That is my honest thought at this point. This man is so cool, good at war and at also linguistics and at cultures. His ability to understand and read the cues of romantic partners is
I don't know,
detrimental at best.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Catastrophic at average.
Right. Yeah. I'm not trying to put out like a wartime victim report here, but I do want to say that like Hadrian Marlowe, of all of the characters in all of the series, is perhaps the least romantically successful of them all.
Is Chris okay?
Yeah. Rockio got married before the series happened, so
good.
I hope he's good.
That's good to know.
That said, man, I love this commentary before we got into the remote side of the half of it. But like, oh my god, now we're trapped. We're just in the you're fucked situation.
What's the next part of it?
So they arrive to a shuttle and find themselves confronted with a dark interior of one of the Cielcin ships. It's crash landed here on the planet, and there's intense hostility in the moment between a lot of different parties. Amanda is then like exploring the space and is shortly thereafter squelched into a giant puddle of blood by a 10-foot pale giant as a snake with the drill bit for teeth chews its way through another of the ranks of people as it's thrown out there as this Hute.
So we got Cielcin.
It almost takes another before Lauren slices it in half with his high-matter sword.
Yeah.
So there's so much shit that happens here.
So we've got Cielcin, but we've also got weird snakes. And I don't like them.
Weird throwy snakes that also float off bodies. Yeah.
They're like people, but not. Oh, I don't like it. It's real bad. The Cielcin are scary as hell.
Yeah, they're terrifying because of all the plasma bolts. Like, it took so many bullets to even like get them approached.
Didn't even care.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this next week, but they eventually get to the point where some of them just ignore stun bolts. They just don't care.
Yeah, they're just taking the torture.
The introduction of the Cielcin here is good horror in my mind. However, to play off of where we were, I think the most interesting moment in this is we see, at least as far as I'm concerned, maybe there was another one, maybe back in I don't even think in the execution of that last Cielcin. Is this the first time we see a high matter blade? They've been mentioned.
Yes, this is the first time.
This is the first time we see a high matter blade, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm locking in on. We got fucking laser swords, baby.
We got fucking laser swords. They're
so sick.
Doing it. They're so dope.
Dude, he went zap. Like, he did the scene from Attack of the Clones where the weird little worms go to stab Padme and Anakin jumps in and goes zap, zap, and he cuts them in like 4 pieces. He does that here with a weird worm,
Right.
So sick.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. I'm actually taking this moment while you're talking about this to try to get you the image of this exact moment as it's depicted in art.
Okay, please do.
Because it's fucking crazy. I've actually held off on sharing
most visual moments of the entire book so far for me.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
I had an absolute hallucination listening to this completely sober on the way to work. You know?
I've been holding on to actual Cielcin art for so long, and we actually had patrons reach out and be like, "Has Josh seen what the Cielcin look like
haven't
in any depiction?" And now I'm giving it to you for the first time.
Oh my god!
You see it?
Where did you send it to me? Text?
On text. Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh, that's fucking rad.
Right.
Oh, that's
and that
terrifying.
is this scene in particular. This is this moment, right? He's just stomped on the Mamluk, and he's striking down on a Lauren. Lauren standing there, ready against him, reeled up, weapon coming down, and this is when he swipes through him. You know,
so that's a Lauren.
That's a Lauren
picture,
in theory. Yep,
that's fucking rad,
right?
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's dope as hell.
Also,
such a good art.
How do I say that? Oh man, how do I say this? Team Cielcin. I don't know.
By the way, this screenshot in particular, it's from the primary artist, which I believe is Kieran Yanner in the moment, of whom has done a number of Magic the Gathering and like Dungeons and Dragons and otherwise art. An incredible artist of whom I highly recommend that everyone checks out. But I believe what's funny about this to me is that this is coined in this image in and of itself as Prime Darrow versus Cielcin, which is not
Prime
true.
Darrow.
This is just a Lauren. This is just a Lauren. Like, in the
can
Reddit
you tell
image,
me that a Lauren and Prime Darrow are two different people?
Right. Yeah, can you sort these images?
He's definitely doing Breath of Stone.
For sure. That position, for sure.
Yeah.
So cool, so sick. I love it.
So
it's such a great image. This, I believe it's from the High Matter edition of the Empire of Silence, which was a unique thing that they did for Kickstarter.
Incredible.
It's very good. I highly recommend it. The art is incredible. Check it out. The Broken Binding has also done so much incredible art of this series. Josh, you can't check it out until we're done with each individual book. It's so crazy. We're so close, and there are so many good pieces. But next week, you can.
Crossan likes to show me cool things, and then.
Well, this is such a good one. You know, like, do you get the
me.
crown as he describes it? Like, it's this like thorny thing that builds out of their heads, and it's like,
so
oh my
sick.
God. Yeah. Right.
I also love like the description that we'll get to next week, because we did read it this week, but we're going to talk about it next week.
We're little. Someone did less notes than he needed to.
A lot of Cielcin have nubs instead of horns, and we're going to get into that.
We will get into that. That said, I do want to mention two other things within Monsters.
Before we even get to Demon Tongue and Monsters, right?
Yeah, of Monsters. Yep.
We do meet some Cielcin and like
we do
interaction with.
That's the Nahute incident. That's everything else. They arrive in the shuttle, defend themselves, confronted by this cold, dark interior, drill bait for teeth. They take off so many of them, but also there's like a fun, like little like reference to Hadrian being so excited that he quotes Richard III, which is, "My kingdom for a horse, what I wouldn't give for a moment in which I could escape. Oh my God, I'm so excited. This is so crazy. My kingdom for a horse." And then from there, Hadrian tries to negotiate.
My kingdom for a horse, what am I saying? I think
it's like what am I doing? Why do I feel this way? It's crazy. That said, the violence calms down. Then Hadrian tries to negotiate a middle ground for the group of them. And that leads us into the conversation that you're talking about, which is like, oh my God, what could happen? What could possibly
just the
happen?
tension of trying to convince them to let Hadrian do this. I think is mostly in Demon Tongue, but it's fucking wild.
No, they're shocked in this chapter. They're like, what? Somebody's trying to fucking talk to us?
So we're gonna start next episode talking to the Cielcin, or the Cielcin, if you will.
The Cielcin, perhaps. So, yes, to that point, for the sake of our own time, because I spend so much time.
Well, technically, I think next episode is going to be us talking about Christmas albums.
No. That's actually before this.
Shit.
Yeah. Good try. That comes out actually on the day that we're recording this. This comes out that same day.
Yeah, that's
literally
what it is, yeah.
today. But that said, we are going to be reading Demon Tongued Through Quality, which is the end of the book. This is the very end. That's book
We're gonna
one.
finish the
That's
book?
book one. After we're done with book one, just for everyone listening, we're going to read through Quality, of course. We'll finish the whole thing. After that, the wrap-up with PJ Heller, prior host of podcast Words and Whiskey. He was one of those. He was
prior host of Words and Whiskey and current host of
his fucking baby, which
pouring
is so sick.
Kegs of Heineken into my mouth in Nashville.
Yeah.
So-
In post of that, for anyone wondering, of course, I do want to give like a general schedule. We'll be reading after the wrap up Lesser Devil, single week, one at once, with Aaron from Howler Pod. So we're very excited for the kind of duology of guest episodes back to back. It's ramped.
Hell yeah.
Amped for that schedule.
After that, we will be reading just some poems I wrote in high school.
Yeah.
No, are we not doing that?
Josh,
anymore?
I did. I worked for Thought Catalog. I wrote poems in post of high school. I've got a whole poetry collection sitting there in their ashes.
Oh man, all I gotta say is PJ Heller better watch the fuck out because we're gonna talk about this book.
We're gonna fucking talk about it next week. That said, thank you so much for supporting the show. We are available on any platform that you can find us. We're especially available on YouTube if you want to see me embarrass myself one way or another, especially over the course of this show.
We're not doing great.
I think I've been the drunkest I've been on the show in a while. But so that's why we cut it short. My no chapter. That said, some part of the end credits.
I'm gonna do it again.
Okay.
That said, thanks for listening to this week's podcast. You can find us on social media at Words Whiskey Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, feel free to shoot us an email at wordsandwhiskeyshow@gmail.com.
Or you can reach out and support us, patreon.com/words and whiskey on any platform you'd like. We love you so dearly. Please also leave us a 5-star review on your preferred platform of choice. Otherwise, Josh will.
Look, here's the thing. I'm going to find you in the tunnels, and we didn't even talk about this chapter, so I can't do that. Never. You know what I'm going to do to you if you don't leave us a 5-star review? I'm going to force you into a marriage where you will live your best life. You're actually going to have to actually live a life where you have all the money, privilege, and position you could ever dream of. The worst thing you could possibly give a person, I've learned,
is a podcast as a gift.
You could have your dream job. She or he is going to be beautiful, or they're just going to be absolutely fucking stunning. And you won't want any of it. And you're just going to have to exist with the fact that you could save all of your friends from their very terrible lives, but you'll never do it because you're never going to think about the fact that you could just ask for them to not be war slaves anymore. And then you're just going to have to deal with the fact that now you have to kiss a very, very attractive person of the exact sex you're attracted to. And then you're gonna have to live with a world where you're gonna be really, really, really popular and famous and rule the world that you live in and have like actual ability to affect change. And that's what's gonna happen if you don't give us a 5-star.
This might be the darkest timeline.
Some people in this book series think that's the worst possible timeline. So
yeah, it could be, and it might be an ending. And it might be an ending that you disagree with or agree with, but it is one. So, But that we'll see you next week for the end of the book, not the series, but there's so many more.
Adrian, lock in, brother. You could have done better. I'll see you next week.
All right. Cheers.